Have a
Have a
fantastic day,
birthday.
everybody. It's fantastic. We're live, dude.
Have a birthday. It's
Yo, yo,
fantastic.
Oh, wait,
yo.
we're live? Oh, you're not
Yeah.
kidding? Okay.
Oh, I
Oh,
forgot to say TikTok. I'm The Rock. Good evening,
yes.
good morning, good afternoon to everyone who's watching from all over the world. Kylie Chapman. Why always late? I'm not going to name any names, but his initials are AP.
I was here 5 minutes after it was time to go live, so don't blame me.
I got on 5 minutes after, and now it's 10 minutes after, so it's only half my fault.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Hey, so has everyone been paying attention to what's been going on in the world?
What's going on?
Well, there's some stuff going on, and I can't figure out what is up with Jordan Peterson. So years ago, I don't even know how long ago this was. This was like 10 years ago. That's when he was giving, I think was it one of his Bible lectures or something like that? He was giving a lecture. And then he had a question from a Muslim in the audience who was asking him about some stuff. I think asking him about Muhammad or something like that. And Jordan Peterson said, well, the issue is, I mean, Muhammad was a warlord, so I can't forget that. And so he's just
No,
acknowledged.
his precise words were Muhammad was a warlord, and
Eh?
I don't know what to do about that. That's what you
Yeah,
said.
and he didn't like maple syrup and Tim Hortons. So what do I do with that, eh? Um, so Jordan Peterson, but notice it was, hey, whatever else you're going to say, and however I might get along with you or interact well with you, I can't leave out the fact that there is a problem with your founder that probably has an impact on a lot of people, and I can't just ignore that. And then a couple years ago, it looks like he decided, hey, I have all this problem with all this woke stuff and all these people shouting me down on campuses and so on. And Muslims are actually on the same side with me on a lot of these issues. And there were Muslims who started sharing his videos and stuff, saying, "Yeah, we agree with Jordan Peterson," and so on. And then they started telling him that he needs to have Muhammad hijab on his channel and so on. And at some point, he even apologized. He apologized to the Muslim community for calling Muhammad a warlord, even though if anyone in history is worthy of the title warlord, it's Muhammad. If you get a video game called Warlords, Muhammad is the main warlord in that game. I'm sorry, AP
And
was just talking about a
what's
video
the
game right before it. Huh?
Oh yeah. What's also funny is his apology was something like it was basically motivated by, oh, my guest Mohammed Hijab does not agree with the definition of warlord, therefore I apologize and I admit that I may have used the wrong word. Like that's like so unbecoming and so unusual of the Jordan Peterson that he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the idea was he was trying to make concessions. He didn't actually see anything that would change his mind about anything. In fact, it looks like his impression after his interview with Hijab and his daughter's interview with Jihad with Hijab. I was said Jihad. Oopsie, a Freudian slip there, AP.
Oh yeah.
Um, that his reaction was, "Wow, this sounds a little bit warlordish. Hey, you'll do nice. Hey, you'll do nice. Hey, we'll harass you. Hey, we'll talk about your daughter." Ha ha. And so he seems to have. Then he seemed to have soured on it, and then in his interview with trigonometry, Constantine, his trigonometry interview. That's when he said he starts talking about the misogynistic mullahs, and he got this little clip right here. We're talking about whether he should believe in Islam, and then his response was,
How about no? I don't buy your Ella.
he's talking about the Allah of the scholars, the scholars, right? So the people who actually study Islam. He's saying, I don't like your Allah. And so you think, wow, Jordan Peterson is really waking up to what he's dealing with here, and he's realizing, hey, this is not necessarily a group that you can form long-term uh, alliances with, because it looks like at least some of them really want to subjugate me or have some serious issues with having to control everyone else. And so he said no to that. Looks like he was getting away from the idea of forming this giant coalition of Abrahamic faiths. And then, of course, you had the attack in Israel, and he posted "Give him hell." And I mean, how
Give him
many
hell.
Muslims like were posting videos blasting him? And what was he saying? He's talking about the terrorists. He's saying, "Hey, go get those guys. Don't let them do that to you." And that was too much for Muslims who don't want him talking like that. So they started blasting him. Lots of them were posting pictures of his daughter saying, you're just mad because Tate banged your daughter and stuff like that. And then so he kept blasting away. He kept blasting away at the terrorists. But then he posted a video where it looks like he's calling for unity again. UNITY. UNITY. That's a unity. That's before your time, AP.
I have no idea what that is. Sounds horrible.
Queen Latifah.
Oh, okay.
All right. So we ready to get up into this video here?
Giddy. Yes, we're ready.
Do a couple quick.
I don't buy your Ella.
Couple super chats real quick. Please explain the Shia Muslim belief in the 13th Imam who is allegedly hiding in a well. Didn't the Iranian government build a road to that well? I don't know about the Iranians building any roads, but we need to do a live stream I think we've talked about this before, like going through the different sects, because Shias actually break down into several different groups based on which person they followed over time. Like there would be the previous Imam, and then he would have different sons, and some of them would side with one son, and some would say no, it's the other son, and so you just end up with a different sect and so on. So we need to find like a good chart and have it up on the screen and kind of go through it at some point. I think that would be pretty cool. Also from Apu Bakr. Is it true that Islam teaches that even the most courageous jihadis who are killed in battle will not go to Jannah if they are killed in war by women? I've heard that. I don't recall seeing that.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing such an authentic source.
That might be something to look into, though, just because I've heard it from so many people, but I don't recall like reading it in the hadith or anything. But I've never looked for that. So if anyone else knows where that's coming from, let us know here. And please explain how the Iranian Shias want to bring about the Islamic Armageddon. Is that future final battle located in a town in Syria? You're talking about a lot of end time stuff here that I don't really study.
I can give a little bit information on that, just a minor stuff that some people might want to know. It's just that so 12 for Shia is the main branch in Iran of Shia Muslims, and they believe that there are supposed to be 12 imams, and the 12th he came a long time ago. At that time, they thought he is the last one, and the end will come, but nothing happened, and they created this whole mythology that imam actually disappeared. He went into a kind of a state of hiding in like a parallel world state, and he's still there, and he's still waiting for things to get out of hand, or for the Shia Muslims to become proper Muslims, so that he can come back as the Mahdi and fight at the end of time. And if you ask them, but had you asked them every single year over the last half millennium or more, they would have told you, "Oh, it's soon. It's soon. The signs are here. It is soon. It will happen very, very soon." And so, with every conflict that happens, they keep saying, "Okay, in Iran, we now have the Mahdi's government. We are in charge. He's waiting. Soon, it looks like he will come back, and then everything will start." And they usually think that Iran will be the leader of that Mahdi's fight. It's kind of messed up.
Yeah. Who do we know? Do we know anyone who's like specializes in this? Like people always ask about end time stuff. Like I don't even study end time stuff in Christianity. Like if you say, David, what does Revelations mean? I mean, I don't know. Jesus wins. That's my takeaway. Jesus wins. What about? I don't know. What about? I don't know the details or anything else. But yeah, so yeah, we need to find someone, because some of this stuff is important, as far as like what people are aiming at, and especially any differences between like what Shias think about end times, what Sunnis are looking for, and things like that. So yeah, we should find someone. If you guys know anyone who's really good at that stuff, let us know. In fact, even if I mean, if a Muslim wants to come on and break it down for us, I'd be happy to have a Muslim on here breaking down view of the end times.
Yeah.
Grow Better says, paying my gambling debt. Well, this is a good way to pay your gambling debts. Aban here says, hi, D Wood and AP. I have a degree in leather straps of the anus with holes in the narrative. That's probably... So we got another Oxford grad here, like Muhammad Hijab, because that is the best place to study that. Now I'm wondering, is it a bachelor's degree, or are we talking master's or doctorate in leather straps of the anus? For anyone who's watching doesn't know what we're talking about, it's kind of an ongoing thing where we're talking about you got the holes in the narrative. That's wait, matter of fact,
the standard narrative has holes in it.
Oh,
that's Sheikh Yasser Qadi acknowledging that they don't really have an explanation for differences in the Muslim sources that could still make it sound like it's been perfectly preserved. And the leather straps, that's just a quotation from Muhammad, where he said the eyes of the leather strap of the anus. And it would be one thing if he just said that, but this is the same guy who brags that his miracle is the brilliant way that he expresses himself. That's in the sources. That's what he's been blessed with, a way of expressing his ideas and thoughts in the most eloquent, beautiful way. And you look at what it, and it's all, hey, Satan pees in your ear. Oh, Satan sleeps in your nose. It sounds like it was made. When Satan hears the adhan, he runs away farting. And it's like, it sounds like it was made for a 3-year-old. It's like, this is something that would appeal to my 5-year-old son. And at this point, he may even think it's too childish. But yeah, that's what we got. And Francis here says, here's my shekels, except as my jizya. Smashallah.
Alhamdulillah.
The Nay here says, David, will you be jihadi if you convert to Islam? I've always said that for years. Like, I've always thought that like Salafis they've got it right on Islam. I have to say, some of the alternatives have a better case than I'm aware of. I've always thought, okay, if you had a stronger case, then you'd be more popular. But like even your close buddy Khalil Andani, AP, like he was talking about Neoplatonism and stuff, and how this is in the source. I'm thinking, are you like, I'm thinking like, are you crazy? Are you serious? You think that Muhammad's talking about like it's actually being like some sort of Neoplatonism or something like that? Really?
Of course.
And I listened to his debate with Jake, and I was like, oh, you can read some of these passages that way. You can read some of these hadiths that way. So anyway, yeah, if I were to convert, I would have to do a little investigating to see if anyone does have a better case. But if they don't, then I'm pretty sure I'd be a jihadi.
I think Muhammad was actually a scholar and expert in Neoplatonism. Yeah.
And one possible explanation would be just because, notice, you see the influence, at least going with the Sunni understanding and not the Ismaili Shia understanding. You can see in the sources that he's being influenced by like Gnostic and Docetist texts and so on. So there are a bunch of interesting ideas going around. But guess what? I mean, there were philosophical groups that had influence there. So it's possible that he's got some of those ideas too. Anyway.
Alhamdulillah.
Aiden here says, much love to you both. And David, it's been a minute. Hope you're doing well. Ever gonna make your way back towards New York again? I hope not.
That's rude. So
if I ever go back to New York, I'll be like Snake Plissken in Escape from New York, where it's because they've turned the entire city into a prison and they need me to go on a mission there to rescue someone. You don't know what I'm talking about, AP, but
I thought you meant killing spree. Yeah,
Snake Plissken. Look him up. I was rewatching Islamicize Me, and I'm so grateful you're a Christian, not a Muslim, David. Imagine if you were. Everyone's bringing that up. What languages do you guys know? I've got English down. I went all the way through advanced classical Greek in graduate school, Never used it at all after that, so I forget pretty much all of it. Although I can kind of get the gist sometimes when I'm reading a little bit. And I took all the way through advanced German in college, never used any of it. And therefore I can kind of get the gist sometimes when I'm reading a passage or something like that, but don't remember. So I learn them pretty quickly, and I forget them even more quickly if I'm not using them. But AP, you actually stay active, so you're like fluent in multiple languages, right?
Yeah, I mean, I speak English, which is very surprising, of course, to everyone who's hearing this right now. Then I speak
kind of broken English, but
I speak Turkish and I speak German, so all of those fluently. And aside from that, I also speak a very advanced level of Japanese and Arabic, as in, knowing a few words here and there. Yeah.
Domo arigato.
Konnichiwa. Yeah.
It's funny. The other day when you were saying bombing, you're bombing them. They're bombing, right? And I was like, I thought it would be funny if I said the B is silent, and then you go, ombing them. Would that be funny? Would that have been funny?
Yes.
Here we have good job to you both. Here's your salary, guys. Masad. Oh, and stop stuttering. It makes you look like a weakling disbeliever. Yeah. Why are you stuttering? AP, why are you stuttering?
Why are you stuttering? I'm not stuttering.
How's it going, David? AP, I can't help but see the hypocrisy in Peterson addressing Islam and religious problems. Thoughts, much love. Peterson addressing Islam and religious problems. Yeah, we're about to go through an entire video on that.
Who, Jordan Peterson? Why are we talking about that?
Okay. What's your view about Hinduism? Well, I'm not a Hindu and never really studied it. Although I think I took a class on it back in the day. But yeah, I generally don't comment on stuff I don't study.
I have a few books on it. I took a general course. I read a little bit on it. I don't know what's there to say. I don't find it very appealing, although I did find it a little bit so at the beginning.
Jay Dyer thinks Islamic Neoplatonism's a psyop. For what it's worth, I think that means.
Yes.
And which Muslims follow the most pure form of Islam? That's what we're just talking about. I would have said that it's like Salafi, something in the realm of Salafis. But I also have to acknowledge that I've spent by far the most time studying Sunni sources, and that does look like what you get if you go with the Sunni sources. There are other positions within Islam, and so yeah, I'm acknowledging that I may be seriously biased in favor of Sunni positions as far as what authentic Islam is, just because I focus most on that.
Look, David would admit he's biased.
David says he's biased. You see?
So even the Salafis are kind of they add to the fundamental knowledge that you get from the Quran and even the Hadiths, and they add certain beliefs that are not entirely authenticated. They are all kind of, over history, they are politically motivated and influenced in a way. Mm-hmm. I would say the most accurate would be to go even further than Salafi and just go to the very fundamentals of the Quran and the Hadith and disregard everything that has a little bit of doubt in it. And such a branch just doesn't exist.
Yeah, and that's part of the other thing is we're always a bit suspicious of the hadiths because they're late. And so when I'm looking at the hadiths, I'm always like, okay, does this look like something someone would invent? If so, it's got to have a question mark by it. Or is it just neutral? Or does it look like something no one would have invented? Like there's no way this is not authentic because no one would ever invent something like this. And so that's how I treated the hadiths. So my skepticism level, whereas someone like Robert Spencer or Jay Smith, their skepticism level is like almost at a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10 of the hadiths because they think they're that unreliable. Whereas me, I would have put my skepticism level at like 4, 5, 6, depending on what we're looking at. But after reading Joshua Little's dissertation, so he's a Western new. He's a hadith scholar, and he's coming up with awesome ways of examining the reliability of hadiths. Keep in mind, he's on the side. He's against us. He said he's writing his dissertation to refute the Islamophobes and show that we don't have a reason to think that Aisha was 9 when Muhammad consummated the marriage. and you actually look at it, it's because he doesn't think the hadiths are reliable at all. And he gives a pretty awesome case for why you just can't trust these hadiths at all. And so he has called into question, even in my mind, the reliability of Sunni hadiths and so on. And so I'm not in a position to say that like Sunni Islam, or let alone, specifically Salafi type Sunni Islam, is actually authentic. It looks like the sources are way worse than I thought as far as the reliability.
What a weakling. Yeah, are we going to watch the video? Or are we just going to... what are we doing?
Should we go through this?
Let's go.
Let me just zoom through these real quick. We won't talk about them. Which Muslims follow the most pure form of Islam? We talk about that. Jordan Peterson wants Christians, Muslims, and Jews to unite for what? You'll see. We're going to watch it. Day 2 of asking AP for a GoFundMe for Prophet Tales. Get on it, AP.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll see.
Carol B. Made for God. Have you been watching Jordan's Exodus series? I found it to be incredibly interesting personally. Something I want to watch. Haven't checked it out yet. Because he goes into, he brings out a lot of interesting stuff. Can Moses Adam existent be proved by archaeology? No. What you think, like Adam is like he's buried somewhere and you're going to find his grave or something like that? Kate. Hi, I just found the donate button. I'm up doing the night feed for my new baby. It's the 1:30 here. Looking forward to this live chat. All right. Thanks, Kate. And let's jump into this video before.
This is actually Mossad disguised as a regular person who's, just living their life. This is how they pay us.
That's how we go. It's the only way to transfer shekels to us.
Yes.
Without leaving an obvious paper trail. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we have Jordan Peterson giving his awesome. I don't even remember anything he said in this, really. I just remember that he was kind of back to, hey, let's all get along and we'll all be buddies again. Let's check it out.
I don't remember because I didn't watch it.
Hello, everyone.
You didn't watch this?
No, I didn't watch it.
Well, your heart's about to melt. Although you're going to be sad because atheists aren't included. It's Jews, Christians, and Muslims against you.
What? I'm leaving, man. Okay,
all right. Here we go.
Let's watch.
Time I write something, when there's something particularly complex happening, when I have to get my thoughts in close formal order. And so I did that this week. I wrote an article for The Telegraph. I'm going to read it here. It's called, I'm pro-Muslim, but anti-thug. Over the past few years, I've engaged.
That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Yeah. Okay. Continue.
Yeah, and that's something that's ongoing. Now he seems to be thinking exactly what a lot of Westerners think. They think, hey, what are you talking about, man? Like this is like in college, I had friends who were Muslims. We got along. We were pals. It didn't seem terribly different. In fact, and I think this is what he's thinking, in lots of situations, I seem to align more with Muslims than with a lot of other groups and so on. And so, I'm thinking, oh, okay, you've got, bin Laden or something doing something like that. But like, I understood, okay, this is in their sources because I was reading their sources, but you still think when you're thinking, oh, okay, well, who is actually in the Muslim community? Seems like a bunch of people I get along with. And so I think that's what Jordan Peterson is back to now, and thinking that the Muhammad hijabs of the world are just like the exceptions. Jordan, check their numbers, check their views, check how people celebrate them, and then check how many people are following the guys you like and are friends with.
Yeah.
Dialogue with people across the spectrum of Islam, from Ayan Hirsi Ali, who left her religious upbringing behind, through moderates such as Mustafa Akyol and Hamza Yusuf, and with forays into the more conservative side, with Muhammad Hijab, for example, a rather temperamental young Muslim, not without his influence in the UK.
Not without his influence?
I've done this because I believe that Jews, Christians, and Muslims share more in common than in division, and because I know that since there is no such thing as a world without religion, we all must do what is best with what we have been bequeathed.
With what we have been what?
Bequeathed. It's just what you've been given. This is the world that we have. We've been given this world, and interesting thought right there. He's saying there is no world without religion. That's a fantasy of the new atheists like AP. He's saying, no, you're not going to have a world without religion. You're not going to have this atheist utopia. You need to live with the fact that we've got Christians, Muslims, and Jews.
How about no?
And he's saying, so we need to just do the best we can with what we've got, and we have more in common than we have differences. So quit focusing on the differences, focus on the common ground we have. And that sounds pretty delusional to me when you think about what the difference is. One of the differences that we're supposed to look beyond and focus on our common ground. So what's the common ground? Oh, we believe in God, we believe in revelation, we believe that there's a moral code, we believe in a judgment, we believe in all kinds of things. So we have that common ground. Okay, for me, AP, you can share your thoughts. For me, it's kind of a deal breaker when one side wants to exterminate the other groups or violently subjugate them.
Why?
Yeah, that's just an ongoing issue for me. And notice this goes back to PBD podcast, but even before that with Ali Dawa and so on, saying, of course we're going to kill apostates and so on. It's like, okay, if someone left Islam and became a Christian, he is, according to you, to be put to death. And so I'm going to form alliances and get along with people who say that if someone becomes a Christian, decides to follow Jesus, then he has to be executed. And I'm supposed to say, oh, okay, I've got a lot of common ground with that guy because we have certain beliefs that Muhammad copied, and therefore we're buddies. What are your thoughts on all this?
And now let's talk about Dylan Mulvaney. Yeah. So what do you think? Thoughts on this are,
because you're not even part of his discussion here. He's talking about the people of the book and Muslims all. I know you're not part of the discussion.
When I sit here and listen to this stuff that he's saying, I'm like, I just feel like the same thing with Patrick Bet-David. When they give these speeches and make these suggestions, I sit here and think, oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, surely. Yeah. Let's come together so that you guys can form a friendship with, a strategic friendship with those guys who first thing just want me executed. Fantastic. A very great idea. Why haven't I thought about that before? Yes, let's indeed do that. Let's come together and do exactly that. Fantastic. I will help you make this happen. That's what I think about this. Of course, it's delusional. He, after so much talking to the Muslim apologists, he still doesn't understand Islam. He still doesn't understand the Muslim way of thinking. He still doesn't get that they are not after an actual friendship or alliance. He should know that even his conversation with Muhammad Hijab, for example, it was all about just in the end trying to convert him to Islam and using him as as a channel to impress more people and turn them into Muslims. It was pretty clear. I mean, at the end of the conversation that he had with Hamza Tortis and Muhammad Hijab, they basically asked him, so what do you think? What are your thoughts? And the implication there was basically, are you ready to convert to Islam? There is no friendship possible. He should be seeing this. And if he still doesn't understand Islam, somebody really needs to educate him on this.
Yeah, and I mean, again, it's a weird situation because I get it. I get saying here are all these things that I'm concerned about going on in the world and in society, and there are lots of Muslims out there who are on the same side of this issue with me, and so why wouldn't I want to work together with them? And we say, okay, but it's actually built into the ideology. It's built into the system that the rest of the world has to be violently subjugated and that apostates have to be killed and so on. But there are lots of Muslims who don't believe those things, who don't believe those, who either haven't studied or they reinterpret them or something, or they use different sources and so on. And so it's not like there's only one Islam that I'm therefore reject. So why wouldn't I work with certain people? And he just seems to not get how prominent those positions are within Islam and how popular they are and how, yeah. Any plans for working together against some common cause? Keep in mind who keeps rising to the surface. Again, I've met Muslims who are some of the nicest people in the world. They're not the ones who become popular for some reason. What is the reason? Why? Why is it?
We will never know.
The world may never know. A couple of super chats here. If Muhammad said there would be 73 sects and only one true, shouldn't jihadis go after the fake Muslim source? They do. That's exactly what ISIS did. They were supposedly cleansing the ummah from any sort of false understandings and so on, thinking that Allah was going to then bless them to take over the world. Didn't work out according to plan.
Yeah.
Can you explain the history of Jewish expulsion? Not sure what you mean there. And that would kind of be a lot, even if I did understand what you're specifically referring to. Let's see there.
There is a book that is actually very short. It's like 4 hours long or so. It's called The History of the Jews or something like that. And it packs the vast history into just very few hours. It's an interesting read.
Chris L says, hey, David, off topic, but what is the objective morality argument? I heard the one that uses slave owning as an example, but I never understood it. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to here. We can do a live stream going through arguments for objective morality. There are a bunch of different arguments for objective morality, but it all comes down to we have moral views. Some of them can be influenced by society. Some of them can be influenced by biology or something like that. Is there something that is actually objectively, are there moral facts? Are there moral claims that are actually true and not just something that our society taught us and that we could have been taught differently, or something that we're just biologically conditioned to do, like having a herd instinct, like animals that have a herd instinct where they protect each other would have better chances of survival and so on. Is there something that is actually are there moral claims that are actually true and they're not just opinion or something like that? And so that's where you would have to make an argument. And so it looks like you were talking about someone who made an argument based on slavery being obviously wrong or something like that. Agazian, but yeah, it's a topic I'm interested in. So yeah, we could do future discussions. I am pro-Muslim. I miss Christopher Hitchens. I am pro-Muslim. I miss Christopher Hitchens. What?
I'm trying to remember if there's a reference there to something he said.
Christopher Hitchens is cool. David, I have a question. Meet Greek. David, I have a question. Do you think the Quran does not deny the crucifixion of Jesus? There's a video of you saying you don't believe it denies it, assuming it's out of context since it was a Muslim. No, it's I'm saying I'm not convinced now that the Quran is denying it when you look at some other ways of interpreting it. Because keep in mind, it's only one verse. It's only one verse that denies the crucifixion. There are some other verses that sound like the Quran isn't denying the death and crucifixion of Jesus. And so the question is, well, the clearest one is Surah 4, verse 157, which denies the crucifixion. It seems to be clearer than the others. So what's going on there? And then you have claims about what Allah's actually saying. And some of the claims are that, what Allah's really saying there is you didn't kill him. It was Allah using you to accomplish his purposes in the world, because you have that, like Muslims are told after battle, it wasn't you who killed them. It was Allah sort of doing it through you. And so I don't know if that's correct. Again, if you read Surah 4, 157, you can read it 100 times. It will always sound like it's denying the crucifixion of Jesus. But I can see other factors here. And there's just not enough to go on. There's just not enough to go on to say, oh, no, it's clearly doing it. Again, it's one verse. It's one verse. And there are ways to reinterpret that verse. So that's kind of, I can no longer say that I am convinced that the Quran is denying the crucifixion.
How dare you?
Definitely later Sunni sources and commentaries on there are clearly denying the crucifixion. But yeah, don't know.
Mm-hmm.
How would you react when you die that Islam is true? Well, I'd be like, seriously? The best you could do is send some caravan robber who is obsessed with deflowering virgins? Like that's your guy.
Yeah, if I was faced with that and it turns out it's Islam was actually right in the end, I would be like, come on, man, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Really? Really, bro. What is this?
Drake says, I wonder if JP is falling for the idea that Islam also incorporates the literature and beliefs of past Abrahamic religions rather than just making everything up and calling themselves Abrahamic. Yeah, he might think of this as like some sort of spectrum, and he has some interesting ideas where he interprets everything like psychologically, so it's not clear what he thinks is really true and false.
Well, if you don't understand, the enemy is not outside, it's actually inside. And it's like the Tower of Babylon and all of that. And then he references things that are never mentioned in Islam because he thinks it's all Abrahamic. Yeah, so pretty accurate, actually.
But let's see what Jordan here is getting at.
Yes. I find myself in some arguably serious online trouble this week, nonetheless. Although I realize I'm far from alone in this, because I indicated my desire that the authorities in Israel give the terrorists who invaded their land and tortured and killed their citizens the hell that they most truly deserve. How could I say such a thing while simultaneously maintaining my desire for a rapprochement between the peoples of the Abrahamic tradition? Let us begin that discussion by rendering...
What did he say? Did he say, how can I hold the position that you need to crush Hamas and still claim that, is that what he said? But still claim that we all need to get along?
I think so. Why is this such a horrible microphone? I don't know. Anyway.
Looks like he might be traveling or something. It's not his normal recording spot.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Caesar what is Caesar's, and unto God what is God's.
God.
The attack on Israel last week by the monsters of Hamas occurred.
You said monsters? You see, you're siding against them. Shame on you.
As far as I am concerned, not because Muslims and Jews must, by religious necessity, be at each other's throats.
There's the problem. He doesn't.
Why not?
He doesn't seem to think that Islam actually requires this, like it's actually part of Islam. Now, to be fair, I would say what you can say is if you're in a place like the U.S. or something like this, and you make up 1% of the population, yeah, you're not supposed to be going out and subjugating people but the answer is not because that's not the ultimate goal. The reason is you can't hope to win, so don't do it. Don't try it. And that's why we have Sheikh Asim al-Hakim saying, yeah, right now you should be planning. You should be working and building up the Ummah for the day when we can go door to door, giving people the options of convert, pay us, or be executed. But he doesn't seem to think like this is part of the religion. I don't know, he may still think that this is just what some people believe and that it's not actually connected to the sources.
I mean, I feel like that's what I thought too. But, honestly, right now, I feel like he is actually aware that Islam is fundamentally against others and that Islam is fundamentally against peace. But he somehow is trapped inside the delusion that he could somehow influence people nevertheless, or influence Muslims nevertheless, and teach them a different way, a different peaceful way, and kind of make an impact. I don't know. It's like it reminds me of Lex Friedman. You've seen recently. He made a tweet where he said,
all religions teach love.
Yeah, every religion teaches love. Let's just remember that. And he deleted that tweet later because people were like, "What are you talking about? Please be quiet." And it's kind of the same sentiment. Like they know that they are speaking nonsense, but they think they can somehow contribute to peace when it's fundamentally against the very religion they're talking about.
Yeah, I guess the idea is, well, look, since there are people who don't take these commands to like kill apostates or something like that terribly seriously, therefore, even given what the texts say, it doesn't mean that people have to follow it. So it's good to align with those kinds of people and to get along with them and to build bridges and talk about Dylan Mulvaney and things like that. And it's just, I don't know. It seems like at any given time, you have the more aggressive speaker come in and just say, okay, guys, it's time to go ballistic right now. And a ton of people will agree with him.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Let's see what he says. Let's see what else he says.
But because Iran, a country run by thugs and deemed so even by its own people, has become very concerned that the rulers of Saudi Arabia will continue in their laudable attempts to formulate a productive peace with Israel. 4 Arab countries recently signed the Abraham Accords, a Trump-era initiative that should have garnered that ex-president, for all his manifold faults, a Nobel Peace Prize, at least in a world where the likes of Barack Obama were deemed worthy of such an honor.
Now, there I have to say he's making an important point, namely that even though you have these issues in the sources, so let me bring up an example. So this is one of many, and keep in mind, guys, that this is all over the hadiths. This is just one example, but this is Sahih Muslim. It was narrated that Abu Huraira said, "The Messenger of Allah said, the hour will not begin until the Muslims fight the Jews, and the Muslims will kill them until a Jew hides behind a rock or a tree, and the rock or tree will say, 'O Muslim, O slave of Allah, there is a Jew behind me. Come and kill him.'" So, assuming that he is aware of these things, which is your view. Your view is that he actually understands what Islam teaches on these things and some of the problems in Islam. Looks like what he's saying here is, yeah, but people are still able to get past this. Look at Saudi Arabia and other Muslim countries trying to normalize relations with Israel. That means that it is possible. It is possible for peace. It is possible that we just don't have to go through with this cycle of violence. And some of these countries can get along. And then he's pointing the finger at Iran, saying Iran derailed the thing, which is correct. Looks like Iran deliberately wanted to derail any sort of agreements between Saudi Arabia and Israel and so on, and therefore politically motivated this attack. And as far as that's concerned, Jordan Peterson is correct in the sense that you can, in spite of what Muhammad taught, you can have countries getting along and not supporting terrorism and so on. So the question is, like, realistically, how much emphasis should you be putting on trying to go down that road and trying to normalize relations and so on?
Yeah.
Any thoughts on this?
No.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's such a weird situation, right? Because guess what? I would absolutely love for Israel and Muslim countries to get along. I'd love it. And I think you should work towards it. Realistically, I don't know how you get around explicit calls for the extermination of Jews in the Muslim.
You have one religion that says, I mean, Islam. You have where it is clearly taught that that in the end they will fight the Jews and kill them wherever they find them, and that this will bring about the end. You can now come out of this and kind of try to, okay, but despite that, we can find common ground. It just doesn't work. I'm sorry. You can maybe reach a few people here and there, but it doesn't work. And I would just say, so that's a hopeless approach. The only approach that I think works is to tell Muslims that that Muhammad is a false prophet, that Islam is not true, that they should stop following and stop trusting his word about the end.
Anthony Stevens says, "Love what you guys are doing, AP and D Wood. Side note, if you want someone who makes a purely biblical case for annihilationism, you should try and have on Chris Date and Rethinking Hell Ministry." Yeah, for anyone who's new here, we've been talking about getting some representatives of different positions and seeing what kind of case they can make and who has the most coherent case. We're actually having on Mike Jones of Inspiring Philosophy this Thursday for a discussion. I asked him, someone said he's an annihilationist. I messaged him and said, "Hey, are you an annihilationist?" And he said, I think he said something like kind of, or sort of, or something like that. So I don't know. I don't actually know. I don't know what his position is. So, but we're going to have him on. He's going to break down his position, and then me and AP are going to make fun of it and tell him
we're going to destroy him. Yeah,
we're going to completely own and destroy him.
We're going to make him regret that he ever decided.
But yes, depending on how much IP's view differs from standard annihilationism, like if it's close enough to annihilationism, to standard annihilationism, then we'll just say that we've covered annihilationism. If he gives a somewhat different view from what someone like Chris Date would give, then yeah, we'll probably have on like someone else to represent that position. But yeah, we'll find it. We'll find out on Thursday.
Inshallah.
Behind the Arab signatories, who were essentially the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Morocco, and Sudan, stood the Saudis, without whose tacit agreement no such steps would have been taken. And everyone knew it. Joe Biden and the Democrats had a historic and unparalleled opportunity to bring the Saudis into the fold soon after they took power from Trump. Instead, demonstrating an almost miraculous short-sightedness, they alienated that sometimes troublesome Middle Eastern power almost immediately after adopting office, choosing instead of peace the opportunity to deny to the previous president of the United States any of the honor he most truly deserved for his revolutionary breakthrough.
So here it looks like he's saying the Trump administration was doing a good job of getting Muslim countries to come to agreeable terms with Israel, and that the new administration sounds like he's saying that they wanted to derail it just so Trump doesn't get credit for fixing anything. I don't know. I haven't been following the politics that much.
I'm not. I know I know it's true that that the Trump administration actually worked toward uniting some of the countries in the Middle East and on the Arabian Peninsula and otherwise in the Arab world to let go of that whole division, of that whole tribalism, and to come together and to find peace, to recognize each other and to recognize Israel. Not sure if it is entirely accurate to say that it was, like a revolutionary, fantastic plan, because yes, the Trump administration was doing that, but on the other hand, the Palestinian side was very, very, very unhappy with the suggestions that the Trump administration was making in terms of reaching a peace process. So I don't know.
Yep, I don't know either.
One that had been deemed utterly impossible by the blinkered fools who ruled the State Department for decades. To say it again, the Saudis would have come aboard the great ship of the Abraham Accords 2 years ago had Biden seized the opportunity. Instead, he and his fellow Democrats downplayed the significance of the Trump administration's cardinal achievement, just to score the cheapest and most expensive of political points. And here we are again, in consequence, drowning in the blood of many, Israeli and Palestinian alike.
Oh, so yeah, that's interesting. He's saying it was all to score political points, derailing the work that the previous administration had accomplished, and the result is another bloodbath.
That's a bold statement.
Yeah, I don't know. But I know there are probably people in the chat who study this a lot more than I do. What do you guys think? Is that correct? Doesn't mean you agree with Peterson on other things, but it's specifically like the political back and forth that I don't terribly follow.
No.
Follow
if you agree with him on this, then it means you agree with him on everything.
Agree with him on everything. How can you agree with someone on one point and not on everything?
Yeah.
Tatiana says, "How did you two meet, and when was your first live stream together?" I think you started contacting me around the time of Islamicize Me. You're like, "Hey, I got a channel." What was it then?
I didn't do such a thing.
I think I was actually recording Islamicize Me. I started getting messages from.
Yeah, no, I sent you a message one day and said, "Hey, what's up? I got a new channel and I wanna chat. Maybe let's have a discussion together." And then you sent me a response which was like something like, I'm just saying it in my own words. "Wow, for a new channel, your channel is growing very fast," or something like that. And then, yeah, sure, let's talk. And from there, we set up our first discussion, and then it just kept going.
Yep. And when was our first live stream together? I'm guessing. Wait, no.
I know
We
the
we we,
year.
we had a thing way on, you had me on once to be on your channel, I think, to explain how I became a Christian. I had you on once to explain why you left Islam and became an atheist. I don't remember the order, or is that
It was in
incorrect?
2018. I'm not exactly, but yeah, I had you on first, and then you had me on. Yes, that's how it went. And then we just started going back and forth, and I don't know, it just worked. I don't know how it happened. you know.
Made for God here says, my theory is that Jordan wants to keep his Muslim audience, particularly to try to convince that same audience to be less tyrannical. Yeah, so I guess he's thinking, okay, since there are possibilities, since there are possible paths towards peace and so on, as evidenced by, Arab nations being willing to set aside hostilities with Israel, something like that. Therefore, I don't want to lose that audience. I don't want to lose them. I still want to try to have a positive impact on them and to encourage that sort of thing. So that's a possibility. The other possibility is he could be focusing on completely different things. He could be thinking of, hey, I have all this LGBTQ stuff and I'm not allowed to speak and government's coming after me and I don't want to lose potential allies in this other thing I'm working on, or some sort of combination.
Yeah. I don't buy your allies.
I guess we would have to ask him at some point.
Inshallah.
Powerful.
Despite being snubbed in a truly provocative manner and their consequent and justified anger, remember the Saudi unwillingness to provide the U.S. with additional oil when Biden asked? Remember their recent flirtation with China? The Saudi leaders have been strongly considering the continuation and extension of the Abrahamic peace process. In consequence, the totalitarian mullahs of Iran have been driven to desperation, knowing full well that such an agreement would undermine and isolate them fatally. This is...
by the way, a lot of this is accurate. So he's pointing out here, Iran is looking at what's going on with Saudi Arabia and everyone else and saying they're in a panic state because that's their main rival. And so if their rival is about to form all sorts of, is about to start getting along with everybody, including Israel and so on, you can't derail that. You'd be totally outmatched, outgunned, and you'd be in all kinds of trouble.
Yeah, I mean that's a known fact. There has been a very long-lasting, almost Cold War in the Middle East between Saudi Arabia and Iran, so especially since the Islamic Revolution in Iran, where Iran tries to influence the Muslim world and the Arab world, and they're trying to take the influence away from Saudi Arabia, which they can't do because they don't have the same version of Islam. They don't have the same policies. They're too controversial and all of that. But it is ongoing. They try to appeal to Russia, for example, to use them as an ally to be somehow intimidating and all of that. But yeah, no, that is definitely at the foundation of a lot of what is happening in the Middle East.
The same Iran, by the way, that the Democrats under Biden have utterly failed to resist and control, continuing a pattern well established by the aforementioned Nobel laureate Obama. And what of Iran? Is it a shining star in the Islamic firmament?
What? Who said that? Who has ever said that? like the whole time he's talking, I'm actually thinking, why does anyone want to get along with Iran? Right? These are the people like going around beating and killing women for taking off their headscarves and so on. Aren't they like the biggest supporters of terrorism, like on the planet? State supporters of terror on the planet. It's like, why does anyone want to be on their side of something? It's like for me, it's like in my head, it's like Iran is like North Korea in terms of people like who would be last on my list in the world of anyone that I would be struggling to get along with.
Yeah.
Don't know what he's going on here. As a Christian, I believe in love your neighbor and praying for those who persecute you, but fail to see religious harmony with evil ideologies. We are in a fallen world. It hurts, but it's true. Yeah, and
that's very Islamophobic.
Yeah, that's you see people who say, because I'll post something like, "Hey, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you," and so on. And people say, "Oh, then why do you criticize Islam?" It's like, it never crossed my mind that loving you means keeping my mouth closed while you follow the most obvious false prophet in history and decide that you're the greatest thing you can do in life is to die slaughtering unbelievers. And it never crossed my mind that it was unloving for me to tell you, hey, stop following the most obvious false prophet in history.
I never thought of that. Huh.
So the main issue here is people have a really, really distorted view of what loving means. And it's come to mean don't hurt someone's feelings or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think it was Chesterton who said, people today would think that it's unloving to warn your mother if she's about to walk off a cliff, because you'd have to yell, "Hey, stop! What? You're hurting my feelings."
Or is it a country hag-ridden by a pathologically self-serving criminal kleptocracy, religious
Did he
in
say
name
hag?
only?
Yeah.
Let's turn to psychology for a moment to answer that question.
Hey, okay, this is cool because this is actually your field, Jordan. When he's talking about Islam, it's always like it reminds me of like it. I mean, this has been an issue going back 2,400 years, but where like in Plato in the Apology, he has Socrates talking about when the oracle at Delphi tells him that he's the wise, or told another guy that there's no one wiser than Socrates, and Socrates is like, "What are you talking about? I don't know anything." He says, "I'll prove it wrong. I'll prove it wrong, or at least prove that it must mean something else, because I'll just go and find people who are wiser than me." And he said he starts going around to the craftsmen and the poets and everyone and asking them what they know. And he finds out, he goes, they don't know anything either. If you're a craftsman, you might know something about your craft, but everyone always makes the same mistake. Oh, I know this, therefore you should trust what I say on other issues.
Yeah.
And that's just stupid. And so that's kind of how it is with Jordan here. It's like, okay, you're an expert in psychology, very, very intelligent guy. You know some other stuff. You study the Bible very carefully and stuff to do things, but that doesn't mean you know what the heck you're doing when you're dealing with Islam, based on
You don't know much about Islam.
based on the 3 or 4 live streams you did. And
Yeah.
There is a form of psychopathology well detailed in recent years, the veritable place where psychological instability meets evil itself. The personality features that are
what did you say? Psychological instability meets evil itself?
Mm-hmm.
part and parcel of that danger to integrated psyche and state alike first acquired the nomenclature of dark triad, a combination of Machiavellianism, instrumental manipulativeness and deceit, narcissism, inflated false self-esteem and desire for unearned attention and status, and psychopathy, a malignant mixture of criminal propensity, callousness, and parasitism.
Everything he just said sounds like the Dawa community.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely, yes.
The dark triad traits were identified and measured by intellectual descendants of the Canadian Dr. Robert Hare, who spent his life assessing and endeavoring to understand the worst of the habitual criminals, responsible not only for the most barbaric and cruel of misdemeanors, but also for the vast majority of criminal acts. The famous Pareto principle of unequal distribution of talent and acquisition applies to the underworld as well. Just as 1% of the world's inhabitants hold something approximating 70% of the wealth, so 1% of the
Where's mine?
criminals commit 70% of the crimes. But all that's not bad enough, bad as it is. More recent investigators of the structure of the darkest of temperamental propensities found it necessary to add an extra dimension to the measurement matrix: sadism.
Wait, so he's saying there's the dark triad of traits. And now he's saying there's actually an additional one. So a tetrad. And the fourth one is sadism.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting stuff.
This is all a little bit. I feel like this is all a little bit too heavy to write and record something in response to, the Muslim anger.
Yeah, it's yeah, you think they're watching this going, "Oh, wow, he used a big bunch of fancy words that we don't understand at all, and we don't even understand what he's saying." But yeah, we'll let him
He-
slide for saying "Give him hell, Netanyahu."
yeah, he probably lost half of the audience that he's trying to address at this
I
point.
I have to say, sometimes I have to actually like stop and say, "Okay, what did he just say here?" Because
Yeah, yeah.
he used like 12 4+ syllable words in a row there. So what's he actually saying? Here, what's interesting is he is actually speaking coherently, and he's using this
Mhm.
vocabulary because he's very well educated. This is actually called the curse of knowledge. Once you have absorbed this and you write articles using these terms, you don't know that like it may be difficult for people who don't regularly use all those words. Okay, wait, what did he just say? Because that was a lot of big word. But you can notice like he's actually communicating clearly, but on a very academic level. And you could just contrast this with like the Dawa guys who use a bunch of big words, but it's not because that's the language that is natural to them from work in academia. They're just like looking up words in a thesaurus to sound smart to their viewers. Right? It's like very, very different stuff going on. And
Yeah,
lots
yeah,
of times, if you look up the words, they don't even know what they don't. You would find that they don't even know what they're talking about. They're not even using their words correctly.
yeah. Like
Welcome
Mohammed
to
Hijab.
Dawa.
With that. Yes, yes. Yeah.
No, Mohammed, he's an Oxford graduate, and that's why you're a pusillanimous.
Positive
You have,
delight in
you
the
have to say it
suffering
like
of
him. You have to say it like him. It's pusillanimous.
others.
See, Ben Shapiro knew that word. That proves that he watched all my videos. He sits around watching all my
So
videos.
stupid.
It's awesome.
The more unnecessary and gratuitous, the better. So now we have the dark tetrad. Dark tetrad types fit well into what is known as cluster B of the personality disorders, which also
That's where I am.
includes such delights as antisocial personality
That's me.
disorder, borderline personality disorder,
Not me.
the female equivalent of the criminal tendency, histrionic personality disorder,
Not me.
also mostly female, and narcissistic
You know what's weird? He just said he called borderline personality the female equivalent, which is a bit strange to me, as he surely knows. It's not like an exclusively female, just a predominantly female personality disorder. So kind of calling that a female equivalent is a little bit strange to my ears.
Yeah, I've also seen, and I don't know what the consensus on this, but I've seen a guy, a psychologist, saying that histrionic personality disorder is the female version of antisocial personality disorder. Even though there are women who have antisocial personality disorder, it's the claim is that the idea is that either borderline or histrionic, since they're more associated with women, are actually a female expression of antisocial personality disorder. But that if the female's wired differently, she might get the normal, what we think of as the similar to the male version of antisocial personality disorder.
Yeah.
personality disorder. Those who manifest cluster B symptomatology or sins have, in addition to their other psychologically and socially dangerous tendencies, the proclivity to claim positive virtue or outright victim status while pursuing their utterly self-serving, grandiose, and destructive claims. The cluster B types lie, cheat, steal, gossip, reputation savage, brag, claim credit where none is due, and distribute blame to everyone but themselves, all the while pursuing nothing but their own immediate, immature, hedonistic self-gratification.
Wait, what? How is this connected to what he was talking about with Christians, Muslims, and Jews getting along? I've lost it.
I know
You remember?
that's what I mean. I've always disliked when accomplished academics do this thing where they go on a tangent about and use too advanced terms and concepts that the average person can no longer follow, because even if you know about much of what he's talking about, at this point you are very likely to lose the actual point. You are very, very likely to get disconnected from the actual point that he was making at the beginning. And I kind of expect him to communicate things in an easier, more accessible, better way. But who am I to judge?
Well, I'm just wondering about what the connection was. Like, I'm actually more, I mean, for purposes of live stream and things going on in the world, then, when Jordan Peterson talks about something or is interacting, then it's good to discuss it. But as far as if I were just listening to him, I'd much rather be listening to him talk about psychology like he is now. I just don't understand what the connection was, because he was talking about Saudi Arabia and Iran and all.
Okay, what he's talking about is how Iran is ruled by a self-serving.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, and that could be what he's actually thinking. Like, oh, these are just some people. These are just some people with some bad. They've got the dark tetrad of characteristics taking over political leadership and religious, spiritual leadership, and so on. And so, once you get those guys out of the way, then you'll have nicer people interpreting Islam. Maybe something along those lines.
Yeah. Possibly.
All the while trumpeting their moral virtue and or brandishing their identity as unfairly oppressed innocents. When they organize, and this happens from time to time, they threaten the integrity of the entire society within which they operate, hoping to light everything aflame and dance orgiastically in the ruins. This happened after the French Revolution. It happened in Soviet Russia. It happened in Nazi Germany.
Ah, okay. I get it. So
I did not see that coming.
These people, he's saying, keep taking over. So people with this dark tetrad of characteristics keep taking over in societies. They're good. They're good at getting attention to themselves. They're good at proclaiming themselves as virtuous, even though they can be sociopathic and narcissistic and sadistic and so on. And they'll rise to the surface in a population. So French revolutions, hey, great. Look at all these great ideals. And then they're like, it's like chopping people's heads off left and right. And of course, with the Germans, and I guess he's connecting that to the Iranians and so on, that these people keep rising to the surface. And so we need to be aware of them and not let them take over, not let them get power. That's the takeaway. You got people like this, do not let them get power.
Yeah.
It's happening now in the West with the rise of the woke. It's something markedly facilitated by the power, accessibility, and irresponsibility of social media, which allows for cluster B misbehavior to propagate with none of the usual real-world consequences.
That is an ongoing thing where, you can behave like a complete sociopath towards someone in real life. There might be consequences. People might be like, hey, what'd you just say? But you can get away with it online all day long. Yeah. And so you can just run wild with it. And that's an ongoing problem with social media.
Yeah, that's what's good about social media.
Yeah, that's what's powerful. I love it. James says, just throwing in my vote for an episode of Muhammad's Boom Boom Room with Stan Lee and Momo talking about their favorite comic book story. Oh, I think this is talking about Shabir, where he compared stories in the Quran to comic book movies. He's like, hey, someone who's speaking could say, hey, it's just like the Hulk, what the Hulk did in the Marvel film. And you wouldn't say he's actually being historical there, trying to give reliable historical information. So Shabir was claiming that the Muslim source, like the Quran itself, is like this, that it contains stories that are actually fables that are meant to make a point, but not meant to be taken seriously. So yeah, it might be fun. It might be funny if Muhammad's there and Stan Lee's there and they're just talking about comic stories, but Stan Lee's talking about stories from the comic books and Muhammad's talking about stories from the Quran. That might work.
That's cool. That sounds good.
And we haven't plunged far enough into the abyss yet.
Oh wait, I just remembered. When we started, I was like, I can't remember what he said. I remember at some point just his voice going high pitched right there. There's a point where he starts imitating people, and it's funny because he already has like a kind of a unique voice, but then him doing impressions of other people. This is about to get awesome, guys.
Think for a moment. Use your imagination for evil if you dare. If you were hell-bent on doing nothing but maximizing your own resentful, narrowly self-serving, juvenile pleasure, hoping as well to do maximal harm along the way to anyone skilled and conscientious enough to have deserved a just reward, in what guise would you cloak yourself?
I'm the victim.
I don't know, actually.
Yeah, we'll let him explain it.
If you were the least bit treacherously wise, you would adopt a religious cover. How better to camouflage yourself than in the robes of all that is traditional, just, merciful, and ethical?
That's so that's where he's going with this, because I was wondering what the connection was when he's talking about all the Israel stuff in Saudi Arabia, Iran, and then he goes into the dark tetrad of characteristics, and then he's pointing out that since these guys historically, and he's talking, again, he's talking about like the French Revolution and so on, these guys want to paint themselves as good people and heroes and the moral people, even though they're evil. He's saying, what would be the best place for someone who is actually sadistic and narcissistic and sociopathic? What would be the best place for that person to go? Wrap yourself up as a Dawa guy. I'm a Dawa guy here. I'm doing it for the good of my religion. Now, everyone basically worship me. Awesome. And I will be as horrible as I want to be and abusive and heaping abuse and insults and promoting violence, but I'm the good guy in all of this. So that good point. He brought it all together.
Yeah.
Didn't know where he was going, but he brought it all together.
This is exactly how new atheists think. Typical new atheist Jordan Peterson.
So dumb.
They always accuse
that
him,
is less effective in the West post-death of God in consequence of...
So that's, so now it's interesting. So why isn't it as effective in the West? Well, you don't have like the religious leaders dominating society anymore. And therefore you don't see it as much here. Looks like he's going back to, this is the situation in Iran.
Collapse of religious authority. So here, the dark tetrad types portray themselves as the very avatars of compassion. We're for the downtrodden, because we can then in good conscience punish the deservedly successful. We're for diversity, because an ethical unity stands against our depredations. We're for inclusivity, because our fetishes and kinks...
We need those sounds, man. You know what I mean? We need those as sound buttons. Hang on. I got to back up on this.
So here, the dark tetrad types portray themselves as the very avatars of compassion. We're for the downtrodden, because we can then in good conscience punish the deservedly successful.
So people are successful. If you want to take them down and take their stuff, then that's all you want to do. You just, hey, why work for it when I could just take all their stuff? But since I want to take their stuff, I'll just, I'm for the downtrodden.
We're for diversity, because an ethical unity stands against our depredations. We're for inclusivity, because our fetishes and kinks demand their full expression, and to hell with everyone else. We're for equity, because merit is our sworn enemy.
I don't know why, but one of the most hilarious things to me ever is someone with a kind of specific way of talking imitates something else that's even more funny. Like a friend. I've had a couple French friends over the years. They're rare because they're French, but a Frenchman imitating a hillbilly is always one of the most hilarious things I've ever seen in my life. But Jordan Peterson is pretty funny.
Ask you.
Can you imagine him impersonating Ali Dawa?
And we're proud of that.
We're proud of that. That'd be awesome. I mean, he was borderline. He was almost doing an Ali Dawa impression right there.
Yeah, I thought it was
too. Yeah. How else are you to explain the staggeringly incomprehensible spectacle of, for example, Queers for Palestine? Perhaps the most egregious example of the union of the desire by progressives to tear down everything in the West that is worthy, even at the cost of formulating an alliance that would in an instant be suicidal if it ever made itself manifest.
That's a point.
Yeah.
We've been wondering that for you. What are you
I-
thinking?
Yeah. I have to agree on that one. Yeah.
And think like Greta Thunberg, she had her thing stand with Gaza or something like that. But notice I should be sharing this, man. I should make a tweet out of this. Like Greta Thunberg is actually buddies with Andrew Tate now. They're on the same side of an issue. It's interesting. Yeah. But so notice, like on what planet, like Greta's main thing is dealing with climate change and so on, and yet jump on an issue and be on the same side with Andrew Tate over something. It's like, hey, what brought you guys together exactly?
And for those Muslims thinking that it's the evil Jews trademark registered, is Iran your
trademark registered
idea of a worthy Islamic state? The very Iran whose citizens, Muslims all, have been on the brink of revolution against their psychopathic masters for more than a year and
Notice the problem. He just said Muslims all. No, they're not.
Yeah.
No, they're not. That's one of the things that came up. Again, it was an online survey, so it can be skewed towards people who have access to the internet and so on, whereas there are villages and so on where people don't have much internet access. But it was 40% of the population when it was private, when they're being asked in private. So not someone knocking on the door saying, hey, are you a Muslim? In which case, okay, of course I'm going to say I'm a Muslim. Otherwise I'd be an apostate. And, so the online, when it's private and they're asked how many of you are actually Muslims, 40% of the population of Iran that responded were Muslims.
Oh yeah.
So according to that survey, they don't even have a Muslim majority anymore. So that isn't who all the people resisting the religious leaders are.
A worthy Islamic state, the very Iran whose citizens, Muslims all, have been on the brink of revolution against their psychopathic masters for more than a year and dreaming about it for much longer than that. The very Iran whose hypothetically religious leaders have to oppress their own women because that's the only way they can control those uppity sufficiently to have a go at them.
Where'd they get the idea of treating women like that, Jordan? They come up with that from their dark tetrad? Did their dark tetrad just say, hey, we want to control women? And they just came up with that idea?
We will never know.
We'll never know. It's a mystery, unless you can read.
The Iran who has in recent weeks decided to rattle the chains of their Hamas dogs, stating in the background, explicitly or implicitly, unleash the cruelest of your minions. Send them to Israel to do their worst. The Jews will respond as they must. Turn the opinion of the Arab world against the Hebrews before we lose our grip.
Yeah, so this is Iranian leaders who are in positions of power because of the same reason people who, the guys who led the French Revolution and so on came to power. So they came to power, wrapped themselves up in religious cloaks, even though they're narcissists and psychopaths and so on, and they realize they're in danger of losing their power because there are people who are revolting against them. And so what better way to keep their positions of power than to start things up with Israel?
Yeah,
that looks like what he's saying here. Mercedes F1 fan says, as a Muslim, let's go get a comment from a Muslim here.
How dare you? Yeah,
yes.
go ahead.
Hey, how dare you? As a Muslim, you are taken out of context. In the end times, we will fight the Jews as a battle, for they all committed acts of treachery and betrayal.
Oh, okay. Well,
notice what he just said. They all committed acts of treachery and betrayal. Yeah, no problem here, man. No problem. They all we're just killing them because they all deserve to die, because they all committed acts of treachery.
Why didn't you just say so?
Yeah. See now I get it. Now I get it. All right. Yeah. So context helps, ladies and gentlemen. Matthew 26:52, put your sword back in its place. Jesus said to him, for all who draw the sword will die by the sword. Back to Jordan.
What
And
does
if that-
Matt 3 say?
Yeah, let's go to Matt. Well, you've got the lost book of the Council of Nicaea, and that said just kill everybody, but that was taken out.
Oh yeah, I get it.
means that the Palestinians unite everyone reasonable in the world against them at their great cost, so be it.
Wow, just look at what he just said. He didn't realize how messed up that is from the perspective of like the Dawa gangs. He just said the Palestinians, by doing the bidding of Iran and attacking Israel, unite every reasonable person in the world against them. So the Palestinians unite every reasonable person in the world against them. He just said that. So everyone who's not wait, did he just? I gotta see. Did he just say that? Because that would be.
I think that's what he played it again, because that implies that they are
worse.
unreasonable. Right?
Yeah, that would be. I mean, you could even say Jordan Peterson calls all these Dawa guys unreasonable.
Yeah.
The Jews will respond as they must. Turn the opinion of the Arab world against the Hebrews before we lose our grip. And if that means that the Palestinians unite everyone reasonable in the world against them at their great cost, so be it.
That's the implication here. It looks like so. All the reasonable people, as a result of this, turned against them. So those who do support them in this, and those who call out the critics, are not the reasonable people here.
Justin Jeffrey said, I would pay good money to see AP do a full lecture about anything while imitating Jordan Peterson. Also love what you guys do.
That's a nice idea.
And so you shall, Justin. We'll negotiate later.
Yes.
And has that not happened? Muslims, ask yourself this. Who in the West has allied themselves with the hypothetical cause of the oppressed Palestinians in the days since the Hamas?
This is actually once he said this, I just remembered what he said. This is actually an important point. Let me back up slightly. He's saying, think about who your allies are. Think about who your allies are. He's talking to Muslims. Think about who your allies are.
Has that not happened? Muslims, ask yourself this. Who in the West has allied themselves with the hypothetical cause of the oppressed Palestinians in the days since the Hamas invasion? University students, demented by the same idiot left radical professors who have destroyed academia. The former president of Harvard University itself, Lawrence Summers, said as much last week. Who else? Marxists, whose hatred for Islam exceeds anything that the most committed, parochial, fundamentalist Christian or Jew might muster.
So, Marxists. So who's actually on the same side with you, Dawa guys who are running around at your rallies and so on? Marxists and like dumb, brainwashed college students so far. That's who is on your side. Let's see who else.
Remind me once more. What is it that's the opiate of the masses, Muslims? What is regarded as the essential and absolute enemy of the communist utopia?
This is interesting stuff here, right? Like, wait a minute. Marxists, your ultimate enemy is religion. And for those of you who celebrate China's treatment of the Uyghurs, keep in mind, it's not because they're dealing with Islam. They want to do that to everyone. It's just easier to do it. It's easier to do it with the Uyghurs because you can say, look at these things, look at these problems they've caused and so on. But make no mistake, they want to do that to everyone. They want to do that to everyone. They want to do that to Christians too. So it should raise up some thoughts in your head. Why are Marxists acting like they're on our side when they most certainly wouldn't be?
Yeah.
And interestingly, it's similar to the thinking of the Dawa guys. These are all just temporary alliances against a common enemy.
Yeah, not a terrible point here. Yeah.
Nothing but the very religious practice you share with your Abrahamic brothers. Who else?
And so this is interesting. He's actually making, it's not going to work, but he's making an interesting case. Guys, who do you actually have more in common with? Jews and Christians or Marxists? Huh? I would say it's debatable because they both want to like control Marxists and jihadis and so on both want to subjugate the world and make everyone do what they want and so on. So and kill everyone who disagrees with them and so on. And so it's kind of, yeah, you do share some common features with Jews and Christians because Muhammad was influenced by Jews and Christians. You can't leave out certain other things that are kind of deal breakers for lots of people.
Yeah, there is one thing that needs to be pointed out, which is that in the Muslim world, among Muslims, Marxists are especially hated. Communism is very much hated and is seen to, I don't know, something very evil, something demonic almost. But yeah, and then in the West they do kind of common cause. It's very strange.
Persian, the Bible translates to Iran, land of division. And am I the only one that noticed the 4 colors of the pan-Arab flag and the Palestine flag are the same 4 symbolic colors of the 4 horsemen: red, black, white, pale equals green. Yeah, I would have to look at that.
Yeah, it's probably just you.
It might just be you, Joshua, but we will check it out.
Bringing up the rear, the increasingly delusional Alphabet Brigade, the LGBT2s, SLQQ, etc. community, foolish and blind enough to assume that commonality of hypothetical oppression is enough to unite it somehow with the mullahs of Tehran and the gangsters of Hamas.
Did you just say
all.
Tehran?
Let's see. He's making a good point. It's like, hey, you've got the LGBTQ crowd thinking that just if we're all viewing ourselves as victims, that's enough to unite us with people who want to kill us. Like that's enough. That's enough common ground. That's all we need. If we're all victims, and it doesn't matter if they want to exterminate us too. We're all on the same ground here.
Increasingly delusional Alphabet Brigade, the LGBT2s, SLQQ, etc. community, foolish and blind enough to assume that commonality of hypothetical oppression is enough to unite it somehow with the mullahs of Tehran and the gangsters of Hamas.
Yeah, so you're on the same side. So you got the LGBTQ community, and they're on the same side with mullahs who would execute them and with Hamas who would execute them.
Something just happened in my head when he said Tehran. So he says Tehran, so the city, the capital of Iran. But when he said it, it kind of felt like he's combining tyranny,
tyrannical. Yeah. Something you might want to call you might want to title a video that the tyrannical leaders of Iran.
Yeah.
Hazrat says Hazrat Muhazmat. Hazrat Muhazmat. Here are my laundered shekels. The IDF loves Dawood and AP. Thank you for continuing to funnel shekels to us. This one, hey, what is this? D. Wood, would you let AP suckle you, proving Quran wrong? What is that? How would that prove the Quran wrong? You know what that's talking about?
I don't know, something about the.
Yeah, I'm not clear on how that would prove the Quran wrong, but I do some wild stuff to prove the Quran wrong. So we'd have to see exactly how powerful this refutation is going to be.
Yeah. Doesn't sound very good. Yeah.
Types all who would have their blue and pink heads on a pike in the street in a moment if they were only granted the opportunity. Useful idiots.
Yep.
This is useful idiocy on a scale undreamed of by the most extreme of Leninists and Maoists alike. And what of Israel as an oppressor state? Well, the Palestinians who live in Israel proper are certainly a lot better off by any standard than the Palestinians who live in Gaza. despite the fortune that has been sent to that blighted area, all of which, for all intents and purposes, has been funneled into the secret and not so secret bank accounts of the dark tetrad religious leaders who parade their lying virtues so successfully.
Brilliant point there. Everyone's people, even Palestinians, they want to work in Israel. So you get work passes. Just to be clear, you can go from the West Bank and have a work pass to go work in Israel. And they want to work there because they get more money. And yet the world is pumping billions of dollars into Gaza and the West Bank. And yet it ends up in the pockets of like Hamas leaders whose kids are driving Lamborghinis around in other countries and so on and filling up their bank accounts. But notice Jordan's putting it in, wait, it's the people with the dark tetrad of characteristics. It's the psychopaths and the narcissists. They're the ones who actually end up rising to power because they'll take advantage of a situation. Notice like Hijab. So he's in the narcissist category. But notice everything that arises, he comes up with a way to make him a more celebrated figure in the world. Anything that happens, doesn't matter. Guys, rally around me right now. So he's saying that these people with these certain features are the best at putting themselves into places of influence. And then what do? They get millions and millions of dollars in their pockets from doing it. It's awesome. Great point.
Yeah, there's actually a survey, from several years back, I believe, where the majority of Palestinians say they would rather be citizens of Israel than citizens of a Palestinian state. It's very telling.
Ephesians 6, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Not according to AP. He thinks it's all just flesh and blood because that's all there is because he's a materialist.
No, it's it's just it's what's true, So
Agazian, Ethiopian for Israel. JP should listen to Mr. Hitchens' speech about Islam. The problem is the book and the Muhammad. JP should contact with Jay Smith to know about Islam. So it's interesting. Two people named there. Jay Smith, Christian, Christopher Hitchens, atheist. Are you familiar with Hitchens' speech about Islam?
He has several, but there is one that he gave.
Is there like a famous one?
I can think of two famous ones. One of them is often shared and is titled "Don't Waste My Time with Islam" or something like that, where he basically talks about how Muhammad, some deluded warlord, makes promises to, I don't know, people with wicked desires, something like that. It's some very harsh, cutting criticism. And then there is another speech where I think he is giving a speech inside a Christian building. I don't know, might even be a church, and he's talking about how in the West they are trying to shut down any criticism of Islam as if it was racism, and thereby only opening the doors to the barbarians who want to come and do unthinkable things to you, things like that. So I can think of two of those speeches, and they are both very, very solid.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind, depending on how long one of his speeches are. I wouldn't mind going through some of that. He was a master of rhetoric, so very, very smart. And one of the it's one of the characteristics I like about Sam Harris. I have all sorts of there are things I don't like about Sam Harris, but I do like the idea of someone who just, look, I don't care what you guys are telling me I have to say here. I'm just going to say what I think, and do your worst if you've got a problem with it.
That's the thing, like there's a history of people like Christopher Hitchens who are completely unafraid, who didn't bother trying to please the crowds and trying to gather the get sympathy from Muslims. They just said it exactly as it is, exactly what they think. And then there are people like Jordan Peterson who just bend over backwards to try and regain the sympathy of the Muslims, and it's just. It doesn't impress me.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it would be one thing if I thought he, could actually be successful, because he was kind of making the best point he could make. There are those of us who are looking at the sources and going, "This is not going to work. Whatever you're planning is not going to work." Whereas he's pointing out, no, you can have improvements. Look at the willingness of Saudi Arabia and so on to come to the negotiation table and so on. So there is hope, and why wouldn't we want to, strive after that if we at least have the opportunity and so on? But in my mind, it's like even Saudi Arabia, everything is temporary. Everything is temporary. They're thinking long term. Okay, we're weak now. Yes, make some agreements now. Make some agreements now. And then 50 years from now, we might be powerful enough, and then we go and do it. And so it's kind of like the goal is still always to subjugate the entire rest of the world. And again, it's just deal breaker for me. I can agree with you on everything and accept. Okay, David, we agree on everything. We agree on 99.99999% of things. Only thing is, I want to kill you and take your wife as my sex slave. Oh, well, okay, deal breaker. I don't. Okay, but it's only those two things, man. We agree on. Okay, those two things are enough for me to not want to be buddies with you.
But why? What's the problem, man?
Archer says, in all fairness, you guys lost Sneeko using big words. This is back when we were talking about Jordan Peterson using lots of big words.
That's any word is big. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Any word bigger than 4 letters is too big, too much for Sneeko.
Yes.
It was CBC News itself that announced in 2003 that Yasser Arafat had squirreled away $1 billion in his hidden portfolios. Anyone who doesn't think the same thing is happening now, and that goes for Ukraine too, folks, is a fool whose blindness is leading them into the proverbial pit.
This is so now it's people with the dark tetrad are basically scheming behind all these situations and using them to their advantage. That's interesting. I haven't been thinking in terms of that, like given the all the situations that are rising and given where all countries around the world are all heading, it's like these are the perfect opportunities for people, for psychopaths and narcissists and sadists and so on to jump in there and become the champions of these different groups and enrich themselves at the expense of everyone else. This is awesome.
I'm just a little bit surprised because I think, as far as I remember, he has been on the rather pro-Ukrainian anti-Putin side in that conflict. So it's kind of surprising to me that he brought up for Ukraine too. But I guess maybe he's trying to say that there are elements within that conflict that take advantage of the situation.
Yeah, in other words, like it seems like in any conflict, in any one of these conflicts, there's going to be people who jump in there and use it to their advantage. RM says, I don't think Biden derailed it. So Mohammed bin Salman needed time to consolidate his position. He became the PM in September 2022 and was busy jailing Wahhabi scholars. Like I said, I'm not sure. I haven't been following the politics of the whole situation very, very much. So, yeah, I would have to look into it before commenting.
Tell me this, honestly, angry Muslims, desirous of genuinely practicing your faith. Do you really think you have anything in common with those who have aligned themselves with you in the West in the past week? Are those the brave and forthright comrades in arms whose support lends credence to the eternal and endlessly manipulable Muslim against Jew story? And tell me again how that alliance is better for your faith and your people than recognition of your Abrahamic commonality with the Christians and present-day descendants of the ancient Hebrews. And tell me, too, how the decentralized structure of your religion, admirable in so many regards, protects it against capture under situations of duress by the bloody psychopaths who make of faith nothing but a front.
This is wrong, but awesome.
I think he doesn't. He just doesn't get it. So I take it back. I said earlier that he probably understands, but he has like false hopes. But at this point, after hearing everything that he has said so far, I think he doesn't really get it. He doesn't understand Islam truly. He doesn't understand that it's not possible for Islam to find this commonality with Abrahamic religion and to just make peace and to work together. And he also doesn't understand the Muslim sentiments and the all the motives behind the Muslim support for the Palestinians around the world. It is no coincidence that Muslims come together when a conflict erupts in between Palestinians and Israel. It's religiously motivated. It is meant to go that way.
Yeah. So I get what he's saying, and this reminds me of Obama's Cairo speech, which in the sense that you're making the best case you could possibly make for what you're trying to do, and yet it's not going to work, and it's
Yeah.
wrong. So his point here is, guys, think about who you're aligning yourselves with. Marxists and Antifa and all these groups, and they're the ones who are united with you right now. Who are you actually closer to? I mean, you've got the LGBTQ community on your side right now, and Jordan's like, what is this, guys? You Muslims, you have much more in common with Christians and Jews than you do with all these other groups. So why are you aligning with all these other groups just because the people who are steering your community are the dark tetrad types, because they're the ones who will take advantage of people like you. And so you have your mullahs, and I would add the Dawa guys and so on, who have these characteristics, are actually using this entire situation to their advantage. They're using you right now. So you need to not be letting these people get away with this. You shouldn't be doing this. You're being gullible right now, and you shouldn't be doing this. You should be, seeking to get along with people who are actually closer to you. And the fundamental flaw, yes, you can say, look, these groups are aligning with the Palestinians and they actually have nothing in common. What's going on here? He doesn't seem to get Islam is against everything else, period. It's not that Islam is against LGBTQ community. It's not that Islam is against Marxism. It's Islam is against everything that is not Islam. Everything is an enemy that either has to be killed or subjugated. Everything else in the world has to be killed or subjugated. So it's like, you could say that about anything, any alliance that anyone forms in a group. You say, but they don't line up with, if they're not Orthodox Islamic, they don't agree with Islam. They don't line up with Islam, and they would be targets eventually. And so that's why it's just this is kind of hopeless.
I have to say, with all due respect to Jordan Peterson, who is, I don't know, very accomplished, very intelligent, very knowledgeable, and all of that. I speak from a very humble position when I say this, but I cannot think of a single Muslim. I can't imagine a single Muslim who would sit here and listen to his words and think, "Oh, okay, oh, that makes sense. You're right. I should change my perspective and rather side with the Israel side, or stop supporting the Palestinian side." He has a point. He tries to make a point, but he doesn't understand the Muslim sentiment. He doesn't understand the Muslim way of thinking. He doesn't understand Muslim culture. He's not familiar with how Muslims actually think, why they think that way, and all of that. It simply doesn't work this way. You can't convince them by saying, "Hey, the communists agree with you. They are on your side. Maybe think about why they are on your side, because you're not on their side. You should be on the other side. Do you really want to make common cause with them? Don't you think that that making common cause with them should be strange to you, because it would show you that you are, on the wrong side spiritually seen?" But they don't think that way. And I think generally this is a wrong approach, because they will just that will be no factor at all in deciding whether a Muslim should support the Palestinians or not. They will religiously, traditionally hold on to the position Palestinians are us. They are a part of us. This is a very prominent way of thinking among Muslims. Palestinians are a part of us. Palestine is our heart. So we have to stick by them. We have to stick with them as much as possible. And what they don't understand is they don't really care about the lives that are lost. People can die. What they really mean is, we cannot lose that land. We cannot lose the Muslim presence in that land. They don't care about who is supporting them, who is aligning with them, whether they are ideologically in alignment with those allies or not. It is a religious matter. He needs to understand that he doesn't get it.
Yeah. There are plenty of Dawa guys and mullahs and so on who will gladly form temporary alliances
Yes.
with anyone, no matter how messed up they are, as long as it's helping them to achieve some some goal they're trying to reach. But yeah, I mean, if he were able to, if he's making as good a case as you possibly can, given the disastrous situation that is caused by what Islam teaches in these circumstances. But like, it's just completely delusional to think that, like, let's say a follower of Ali Dawa is going to watch this and go, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't be following Ali Dawa. Maybe I should be listening to Jordan Peterson, or a fan of Sheikh Uthman or Daniel Hakikachu or Muhammad Hijab, or some college students who are at the rally, that they're gonna watch this and go, oh yeah, there are dark tetrad types taking advantage of this situation and using it to their advantage, and so maybe I should jump on the other side. Yeah. It's like that's complete fantasy land to think that really anyone is going to. And again, I'm saying he's giving the best case he can. There are things at work which make this completely delusional if you think this is going to work. Yeah. So zero, I would say roughly as close to a 0% chance of success as anything can be.
Yeah.
Redeemed one, Muhammad meets Miss Piggy. I've had that request before. Could even have like a Miss Piggy puppet. I think you could get the puppets and actually have Miss Piggy there, and we could get Ali Dawa to do the Miss Piggy voice.
Nice.
For an episode of Muhammad's Boom Boom Room. And let's see, Disarmed Beetle here says, David, as a Catholic, I find it very difficult to approach Muslims that I don't know. Of course, I don't accost with the thought that I'd convert them, but I feel so sorry for the girl that veils herself. Yeah, just so you know, it's actually it's easy to start up conversation, and just keep in mind that the Muslim woman who's wearing a veil or a hijab or whatever would probably love to talk to you about things. All right, she would probably love to talk things. So keep that in mind, and you could just ask a question, and just notice how easy this is if you wanted to start a conversation. Hi, I've seen in the news the disputes about the hijab and so on, but I've also seen, International Hijab Day and so on. I was just wondering why is this such an important issue for Muslims? Just start like that, and guess what? She'd probably love to talk to you about that. She'd probably love to explain it. And that gets this conversation started. So no need to be afraid. Sid Dave says non-Muslims should reunite against evil Islam. What? That would be Islamophobic, dude. That would be Islamophobic.
How dare you?
Are Muslims and Black Hebrew Israelites united? They would be united in not liking the Jews who are in Israel right now. But on apart from that, no, Black Hebrew Israelites and Muslims will argue about everything else. In fact, I've actually seen the Hebrew Israelite groups. For anyone who doesn't know, there's a kind of cult in now it's in other countries as well, but it's a cult that is based on the idea that people who became slaves in the U.S., those are actually Jews. They were the Jews. They were the true Jews, and the people who are claiming to be Jews now aren't. Those are actually other groups that are masquerading as Jews. And so
stupid.
Yeah. And so what's interesting is I've seen videos of the Black Hebrew Israelites using arguments against Muslims when they come up to them to talk, because they stand on corners and so on and have conversations with people. But I've seen them use arguments that they obviously got from us. Like they'll use like what we call the Islamic dilemma, that the Quran affirms the Bible. I've seen Muslims come up and start arguing with these guys and so on. And then I've seen the Black Hebrew Israelites go up, hey, open up your Quran, and start taking them through the Quran, affirming the Bible and so on. So it's actually interesting.
Solid.
Criminal evil. I'm not saying we're any better in the West. Our susceptibility to the blandishments of the postmodern Marxist dark tetrad mob is a weakness of equivalent danger. But it's your people taking central stage right now, and your people who have to make a wise decision. Or else. And it's a big or else. The Saudis and the other signees of the Abraham Accords have a stark choice in front of them, as do the distributed and various people of the Islamic world. They and you can allow the thugs, particularly those in Iran and Palestine, to triumph in their propagandistic efforts to prop up their own dismal, miserable, and tyrannical states. They and you can, in consequence, scuttle the new peace treaty signed with Israel, forego all the obvious benefits for the Muslim world offered by that agreement, and to acquiesce to continued rule by the cruelest of hypocrites, misusing faith in the worst possible of ways. What is the famous...
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm just saying, again, he's making the best case he can, right? I mean, this is like, but it's like telling a woman who's in love with her boyfriend, who's actually a narcissist and a psychopath, who manipulates and conditions her into being completely obedient and subservient towards him. It's like telling, hey, you're being manipulated by this guy. You should just leave this guy and go with someone else. She's already been conditioned. It's like trying to get Tate's favorite cam girls to turn against him. Like, you're dealing with a master manipulator here who spent years conditioning these girls to be just unquestioningly obedient to everything he says. And then you're running up to him saying, hey, he's manipulating you. Come testify against him.
This is just so naive. Like, it just sounds like, hey, guys, why don't we just love each other? You know?
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, making a compelling case, and you could actually agree with him. Hey, I mean, think about the core message. Who's trying to derail? Who's trying to derail peace and so on? It's people with the dark tetrad of characteristics who want to continue using this to their advantage, to enrich themselves and to give themselves more attention and to give them everything that they crave. They don't want peace. Those guys don't want peace. They want control. They want money. They want respect. Even as they're doing horrible things, they want people to love and praise them. That's what they want. Stop feeding them. Stop feeding these monsters that are taking advantage of this situation. That's what he's saying. Guess what? I mean, he's right in diagnosing some of the things that are going on. It's just it's kind of like how is this going to solve anything? Like, who follows any of these guys, who follows the mullahs or follows the Dawa guys or any of this, who's going to listen to this and go, oh, wow, he's right.
Nobody.
I would be surprised if anyone. So what's the point? And here's what sucks. At most, it's Jordan Peterson's fans who are watching this going, oh, wow. So there is hope for the future of peace between Jews and Muslims. There is hope, because look, Jordan Peterson just broke it down so clearly. He's going to make a difference. I'd love to see him make a difference. It's just we live in the real world where we interact with these guys regularly. And we're thinking, no.
Yeah.
So in other words, he might as well just say, hey, all Tate's cam girls unite against him.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh boy. Caspian says, postmodernism has created bizarre chimeras and alliances, e.g. the Squad, AOC, Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Reza Aslan is another weird postmodern example. Yeah, that dude ate a brain back in the day. He ate a piece of brain to get people to watch his show that no one watched. There are weird alliances. Yeah,
and it's weird that Jordan Peterson is one of those critics of postmodernism, and then he's just he's doing the very same thing here.
Second commandment of Moses: do not use God's name in vain. What does that mean? It does not mean do not swear, or if it does, that is its most trivial warning. It means much more fundamentally, do not attribute to yourself the virtue of the divine when acting on your own behalf.
Hey, check out all these names. They're not even hiding where these shekels are coming from. So we got Levi Jones, Levi. Then we got Benjamin. We're covering all the tribes right now. Benjamin, Simon. We're covering all the tribes here.
They're thanking us for our
thoughts of the forces of darkness themselves. This sentiment is reinforced at least 3 times by Christ himself in the Gospels. First, when he says, "And when thou prayest, thou shalt not be as the hypocrites are, for they love to pray, standing in the synagogues and in the corners of the streets, that they may be seen of men."
Isn't this considered disrespectful a little bit? That he actually boldly reinterprets biblical messages like an authority and challenges like generally held ideas with his own view.
I think it's hilarious that he's quoting Jesus condemning religious hypocrisy, people who do things to be seen by others. And he just quoted Jesus saying, "Hey, don't pray, don't pray, don't pray to be seen by other people." He said the same thing about fasting. He's like, you need to make sure people don't know that you're fasting. Otherwise, you're doing it for show. And it's just amazing that he's quoting this to appeal to people from a religion where all of this stuff is meant to be seen. It's built into the system.
Yes.
It's like if you're not visibly doing these things, then you're in trouble. That's the amazing part.
Then you're a boy. Yeah, why doesn't he quote the Quran? Somebody said, who was that? PC3 said he quotes the scriptures but not the Quran. Yeah, why doesn't he quote the Quran? He should go to the Quran to appeal to Muslims.
Yeah, quote the Quran saying you shouldn't be doing this stuff in a way to be seen by others. I'd love to see that.
Yeah. Quote the Quran saying the Christians and Jews and those who disbelieve are the worst of creatures. Maybe that will help make things better between Muslims and the Abrahamic religion.
We've got Bella here. If Israel becomes a superpower very soon, which is inevitable, will they be tougher towards Islam or Christianity? They're not going to be a superpower.
Who?
She
Israel?
If Israel becomes a superpower, there's not. I mean,
in a sense, Israel is already a superpower.
I mean, compared to the people around, normally it was like back in the day, it was the United States and the Soviet Union. They were the superpowers. Then there was one superpower. Now there's China trying to become another superpower. But no, because Judaism isn't they don't proselytize the same way that like Christians and Muslims or even like communists do. You've got people who like try to get the entire world to believe the same thing. And there's only like what, 15 million Jews in the world? 15 million? So yeah. So Israel can be significantly more powerful than the groups around them. That's not what superpower means. We have Levi Jones here again. Levi. What other tribes we have? Both fighting over land that's not theirs, both imposters for past destruction of God's people. You're destined to destroy each other. This is starting to not sound like Mossad there.
This is a good cover, Levi, but you have to change your screen.
Yeah, that's a nice try. That's a nice try, Levi, but come on. Come on. You're trying too hard. You're trying too hard. All right.
Second, pointing to the moral hazard in doing good works other than privately. But when thou doest alms, let not thy left hand know what thy right hand doeth. And third, when he says, not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father, which is in heaven.
He's quoting.
Hey, Muslims will take that. Muslims will take that quotation and say, "Look! He's basically trying to say Jesus is not God. He's almost becoming a Muslim now."
Yeah, but look, he's quoting a passage where God is Father.
Yeah.
To people who believe that Allah is not a father in any sense. There is that you only approach Allah as a slave to a master. It's the only relationship you have.
Jordan Peterson destroys Islam.
We got N.A. Odessa, send in the Wingalangs. That's the only real solution to this whole problem. Get Mike Winger and his entire group, the Wingalings, and they'll fix the situation. We got the redeemed one here. Do you think it's likely Hezbollah will go all in? I don't think so, but I mean, they could. In case anyone doesn't know, Hezbollah is way stronger than Hamas.
Yeah.
They are a much stronger, much better trained group than Hamas. With that said, Israel could crush them easily. They would just have to be very brutal in doing it. And they would just have to, so they can do it. Israel, in other words, Israel could stop them as well. Hezbollah knows that. And so the real question is Hezbollah willing to do what Hamas is doing? Namely, yeah, they're going to crush us, but if that stirs up the rest of the world against them even more, then so be it. In other words, are they willing to sacrifice themselves to stir up more hostility? I don't know. That's possible. That's definitely possible.
The issue is that Hezbollah is kind of like Iran's favorite pet. So if Israel actually gets into a direct, real war with Hezbollah, it's like Iran is already warmongering this whole time, and is basically trying to rile up the world and trying to cause something big. If Israel actually directly fights with Hezbollah, it will be hard for Iran to just watch. And there are also talks.
Well, I also have to say, Hezbollah is only going to do what Iran says. So if they go all in, it's because Iran told them. If they don't do anything, then it's because Iran told them to do that. Mm-hmm. So they're taking orders.
Yeah.
Islam spent 1,300 years refining their Quran. Yeah, it's like the dark tetrad characteristics that Jordan Peterson is referring to and saying that there are leaders who take advantage of this. That's Muhammad, and like that's built into the religion. Like Muhammad is messed up. Yeah. Anyway, almost done here.
Once again, the mere claim that it is religious conviction that motivates personal action is no proof whatsoever that such is the case. It is very difficult to aim upward in alliance with the spirit that wishes everything well and in keeping with the truth. It is a path rife with moral hazard, and the public display of virtue, including the adoption of high church or mosque or synagogue position, is not any guarantee that the God claimed to be present is in fact there. Quite the contrary all too often. The Saudis and you in the Muslim world more generally could instead remove the beam from your eyes, as we should equally in the West. See what is so starkly manifesting itself in the world. Turn away from the terrible, tempting path of righteous destruction. Continue the work already begun in uniting the people of the book, and thereby bring a production.
Oh, he did it again.
What sort of fantasy land is this guy living in?
My God. He did it again. Uniting the people of the book. Jordan Peterson. Muslims don't consider themselves people of the book. They consider Christians and Jews people of the book, and that is they are lower than the Muslims. They are called people of the book because while they are not Muslims, they at least believe in the books once revealed by Allah. So there is something there, there is potential.
Yeah,
I don't treat them like complete kuffar, but that's it.
The practical outcome is that we have the option of not being executed, unlike atheists or Hindus or anyone else.
Yes.
And so we have the option of paying tribute money to acknowledge our inferior status. Yeah. What is this guy talking about? So, use that to build your bridges. Like, what? Like, are you joking? Who is this meant for?
This is an improvement.
Who is this meant for?
Yeah. This is an improvement from Find a Pen Pal.
Yeah. We still need to revisit that. Like, Jordan, dude, how easy is that though? Jordan Peterson's message to Muslims, revisit it and just sit down and watch it. And he should have learned his lesson after that one where he tried to give advice and they're like, who are you? And not realizing most of their the Dawa guys and so on don't take criticism well from a non-Muslim. Like, you need to shut up, you don't criticize us. And so that's how they reacted. But even here, take the beam out of your own eye. That's it. Deal breaker for them. You just told us what to do. Too much. It's too much.
And this is his whole demeanor, the way he speaks here, this is a very Christian way and a very Western way. I mean, this would appeal to a Western or Christian audience. This is not the Islamic way. So I feel like he's kind of caught in that whole. He's limited by his Christian understanding and his Christian way of talking and of appealing to people, also while citing Christian texts and Christian teachings. and he's trying to appeal from that space to Muslims. It doesn't work. You have to yell. You have to talk like Mohammed Hijab talks.
Yeah, he should do that. And in fact, I think he was trying to do that in his message to Muslims. He was talking in like an authoritative, kind of condescending way, and not realizing, no, they like that from their guys, not from you.
Yeah.
As a former Muslim, it is hard watching my friends suggest we all coexist while knowing my former brothers will kill or dominate you. Why do you not understand that not everyone thinks like you? It's an ongoing problem. People just think, oh, this is how I think, therefore this is how other people think, and this is just the normal human way of thinking. And
Stop being Islamophobic.
I see a lot of Muslim nations opening up more to forms of secularism, even as they prosper and get richer. Would you say radical Islam is linked to war and misery? I think Islam is linked to war and misery, and people, that doesn't mean that Muslims have to follow it down that path. But yeah, it is a thing that as nations get wealthier, more prosperous, they have more to lose by rocking the boat, and they tend to, and matter of fact, we talked about that in reference to Hamas and Palestine, that does Hamas really want to improve the lives of Palestinians? No, that would be counterproductive. The more their lives were improved, the more they would have to lose, the less they would want to go out and start fights with Jews who are going to bomb their houses and so on to nothing, looking for terrorists. You don't want to do that. But if you have nothing to lose, if you're completely poor and have nothing to look forward to and nothing to do but jihad, then you've got your next generation of jihadis.
Alhamdulillah.
Right.
Generous, wise, and lasting peace to this benighted, but still not yet doomed, and even potentially wonderful green and blue orb. We need a transcendental axis to revolve around, to move us beyond a blinkered materialism, to protect us against a foolish populism, and to lift up our eyes to the eternal heaven beckoning above us. In the West, we have that. For all the faults of the followers of the creeds, and even with the creeds themselves as currently understood in the form of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism.
Yeah, just total fantasy land. It's just, this is not going to be anywhere near as persuasive as me strong, everyone else weak. You join me, you strong. You with others, you weak. And like he can be as eloquent and rational and careful as he wants. It's just not working.
There is a German phrase for this, which people often use. I think it didn't even originate as a mockery, but people often use it kind of as a mockery when people make these suggestions, which is it goes Friede, Freude, Eierkuchen, which means peace, joy, and pancakes or something like that, which is to just say, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, yeah, let's just make peace, But that's basically what he's suggesting here.
Let's all get together and sing.
Yeah.
Backe, backe Kuchen, der Bäcker hat gerufen. Wer will guten Kuchen machen? Der muss haben 7 Sachen. Eier und Schmalz, Butter und Salz, Milch und Mehl, Safran,
Black
macht
Angel
den
might-
Kuchen Geld. Huh?
Black Angel says Friede, Freude, Eierkuchen. She got the reference here.
Ja.
Yeah.
Dana says, during your debate with Muhammad J. Who's Muhammad J? Muhammad J. He continually said that no one knows where the disciple John came from. This is not true. He and James were the sons of Zebedee. Do you remember this? No, I don't remember this. I don't know what this is about. Matthew, always fascinating to see a Muslim take pride in abstaining from pork and to a lesser degree drinking alcohol as an opportunity to virtue signal to distract from literally anything toxic they may do. Yeah, that is, you have to watch out. You have to watch out for someone who tells you, hey, you can want to mass murder and subjugate people and abuse women and oppress people and chop off the heads of apostates and look upon everyone else in the world with contempt as completely inferior. But hey, put this on your head and don't eat this. And that means you're totally good with the Almighty. It's like, wait, what? Say what now? But that's what it does, right? That's what it does. Notice, very, very simple. Just, hey, wear this, don't eat this, and don't drink that. And then you can otherwise be as horrible as imaginable and even exhibit the Dark Tetrad characteristics. And you're good. You're good. You're good to go. You're the best of peoples. Everyone else is inferior to you.
That makes complete sense. What's your problem?
It's exactly correct. You guys should speak to the guys on the centrist Sitch and Adam show regarding the inherent issues with Islam when it comes to us all playing nice with anyone outside of the faith. Do you know that show?
Whomst what show? I don't know.
Centrist Sitch and Adam show. Not familiar with it.
Never heard of it.
I wasn't familiar with Abba and Preach until when they started talking about Andrew Tate. Those guys.
Same.
They turned out to be cool.
They're nice.
Mossad and Vatican money. Yeah. That's the best.
Yeah.
We had our look at this. We had our Muslim friend here, Mercedes F1 fan, who came along saying, "No, you guys are misinterpreting that passage about slaughtering Jews. It's because they're all guilty." He said that earlier, and here he says, "May Allah reunite you with Nabil in Jahannam."
Oh wow, that took a turn.
That took a turn. That took a dangerous turn.
Very, very bad.
Hey, Mercedes F1 fan. You see what you brought on yourself? You see what you brought on yourself? Did I want to do this? No. Was I going to do this? No. What? Now look what you've done. Now look what
you made me do.
Now look what you've done. Now just for that, I'm going to make you an airplane. Rip this right out. Why? Because of you. Your decisions. Isn't it interesting how you whine about things that would be caused by your decisions? I wouldn't actually call this Karanagami. This is just like kid stuff, but all right. And Cat Canada, he just pulled a Lex Friedman with the Unite the People of the Book. Yeah, that is. Matter of fact, you mentioned Lex Friedman earlier, but yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like here. Like, hey, I'll just say something. Now, Jordan Peterson is giving a much more sophisticated defense here of his position. But at the end of the day, it's pretty much just like, come on, all religions teach love, unite. At the end of the day, that's what it is. That's the position.
Yeah, Lex Friedman often does that thing. I don't know what's wrong with him. Maybe he's high whenever he talks about this stuff, but he's like, he also does that in person with people. It's like, but have you ever thought about, approaching the situation with love? Let's just love one another.
Yeah. Yeah. So it really seems to be guys who just, they've talked to Muslims that they get along with. And so they think, oh, okay, then they're really, some of the claims from the Muhammad hijab types must not really be terribly convincing in the Muslim sources. If I have all these, if I have these Muslims that I get along with, and so they think that someone must be misinterpreting or misapplying the sources, but they don't. The point is, they don't know what the sources say, and so they're just basing it on people they know. And guess what? If you know a bunch of Muslims, you do know Muslims who are nice and aren't trying to subjugate you and so on.
I get it, but have you tried loving each other?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what we're saying, guys. Everyone just love each other. How hard is that? Hey, all you people. Hey, you Palestinians, and you Israelis, just love each other, man.
Oh, problem solved.
Say that. I should go tweet that right now. Hey, Palestinians and Israelis, why not just love each other instead of fighting? Oh, whoa. That would be powerful, powerful, powerful.
David Wood brings a shocking end to the conflict with one message.
Powerful. Samuel Tawheed. Hey, David, a few questions. One, when is the next Boom Boom Room? Probably this week, because I have to really. Matter of fact, I'm going to have two. I'll probably separate them by a week, though. But yeah, that's Jake. As far as I know, no one's told me that Jake has posted. I told Jake he had to decide what the next one was, or I would release two. So yeah, I haven't heard anyone say that he named someone. So yeah, I'll be releasing two. But yeah, I'll get one out this week. Probably the Salman Rushdie one. The one with sock puppets erased. I don't remember the one with sock puppets. I don't know what that is. And what's the track called used creating Karanagami? Oh, the music track. Yeah, I just downloaded that off one of the sites where you can pay for a subscription to use music clips, and it was just called something like Hip Hop Beat or something like that, but there wasn't any specific name. So yeah. All right, let's get Jordan Peterson's almost done here, so let's see.
We need our Abrahamic faith, lest the hedonistic pagans and worse prevail. And we need to stand united behind it. And that is why I'm pro-Muslim, but anti-thug. And if you are a true follower of Allah, that is the decision that is incumbent upon you in equal measure. And that goes as well for the Christians and the Jews.
What? Why is he talking about us? Well, he's talking about me. And why is he leaving AP out of it?
I'm sorry, but this is just so ignorant and so
not
naive and stupid. And it's like, I don't want to say this, you know, it's Jordan Peterson, the guy is, who am I to say anything about this guy? But this is stupid. This is naive. It doesn't work this way. He needs to see this and stop trying to act as if he could, influence and change the very religion that these people believe in. It just doesn't work this way. He needs to educate himself more on the matter. Just because he's a great psychologist, which I truly believe, that doesn't mean he can truly diagnose and understand and find a solution to interreligious conflicts, especially from a Muslim perspective. It does not work this way. Plus, I don't know why he's trying to say we, since he's not even really a Christian. I don't know.
Who are you to say who is and who isn't a Christian?
Does he actually believe in God?
Atheists here trying to tell us who is and who isn't a Christian here. Oh yeah, AP's the final authority. We got the atheist version of Daniel Hakikachu and Jake here, thinking they get to define everyone else and so forth.
You're not a real Christian.
So here we have, with Muslims no uniting but negotiating by law. I mean, to be fair, he's right in the sense that there are plenty of Muslims in the world that you could get along with and so on. It's just that's you can't depend on that, because you can't count on that to really fix some of these issues going on, because their sources are actually on the side of people who aren't going to get along with you, and whose ultimate goal is to subjugate you at best. Jillian says, thanks for making us laugh. Ozzy here. FYI, the Sydney Islamic celebrations after the bombings, the people don't support this. It's good that the people don't support that. So that was the place where people were yelling, gas the Jews and so on.
It's just their way of expressing their religious feelings. I shouldn't judge them.
Rebel here says, considering the Talmud says that Jesus is in hell burning in feces, and that the Theotokos as a whole, I don't see how Jews and Christians can ever find common ground either. No, Christians and Jews can find all sorts of common ground. What you're referring to is you mean a rabbi has said something at some point, and guess what? You'll find various Jewish views. But notice what we're talking about when we're saying certain things are a deal breaker. Because keep in mind, like most Christians would say, that if you're Jewish, you're not okay with God right now if you do not accept Jesus, right? So what does that mean? That we can't find common ground? What are the kind of deal breakers we're talking about? Is, okay, you're trying to kill me. Your goal in any sort of negotiation or getting along is to kill me. Now, if you had random people within a group that are like that, they just personally, they want to kill you, but not the group itself, or not the foundational teachings, that would be one thing. When we're talking about Islam, we're talking about their prophet called for the ultimate extermination of Jews, the complete violent subjugation of Christians, and wiping out polytheists. Don't talk a lot about atheists and so on, but they'd be in the same boat with polytheists and so on. So that's the sort of thing we're talking about. Can we actually can we actually agree? Okay, God's going to judge, and there are these things. We have these disagreements about various things, and we can argue about certain things. When one group is saying, yeah, we actually want to murder you. That's our goal. And that's what our prophet told us to do. It's kind of a deal breaker.
I also quickly to address that whole thing that the Talmud says that I read about this a long time ago. I can't exactly remember, but just to briefly look up the whole issue again, the general rabbinic Jewish idea has been for a long time that that the claim that this is about Jesus is a claim that is made but not verified, and that the name Yeshua was a very common name, and this is just an example of somebody doing something. Plus, the part of it burning in hell in feces is not in relation to that character. That is from a completely different part of the Talmud. Has nothing to do with the Talmud.
I have to say, someone sent me a quote, and they were saying, "Hey, this is about Jesus," and I looked it up, and then it wasn't about Jesus at all.
Yeah,
Like it wasn't even talking about Jesus. Didn't say one word about Jesus. And so. Yeah, there's it's people will put things together in a meme. I'm not gonna. No, I have never researched what the Talmud says about these. So if someone says, I can't deny it without looking it up. But in generally, probably half the time someone says that the Talmud says something, I'll go there and it's either not in the Talmud or it's just completely false. Like it doesn't say it at all. And then usually the rest of the time it's Rabbi so-and-so said it and this other rabbi said something different. And this is supposed to enrage me against Jews and make me go sign up with Nick Fuentes.
yeah.
Brilliant, guys. Brilliant. Doing a bang up job. Dana says, I meant Muhammad Hijab. Yeah, I don't recall. I do not recall. But yes, if he says we don't know who wrote the Gospel of John, you could say, hey, there are critical scholars who say we don't really know because we don't trust what people said about who wrote these books and so on. What Muslims who would appeal to these critical scholars don't realize those exact same critical scholars, if they applied their reasoning to Muslim sources, would think that the hadith are a joke. They would think very similar things about Muslim sources, but they would have a much better case. Because you're talking about like Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, you're talking about sources that are centuries after the time of Muhammad, not first century sources like you're dealing with the Gospels. Harris here says, talking about Jordan Peterson, said he's just pleasing his Muslim subscribers. I mean, that may be his goal. He might be trying. I mean, to be fair, I think he is actually trying to accomplish something good, and he's probably making sense in his head. Hey, why are Muslims uniting with all these groups that they have nothing really in common with at all? Oh, they're being manipulated into doing that sort of thing by these people, by narcissists and psychopaths and sadists who are portraying themselves as good religious leaders and so on. And hey, maybe I can help them not do that. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess you could try. We've been dealing with this stuff a lot longer. And yeah, you thinking this is going to work, AP?
Nope.
Nope.
I mean, he is trying to do a better job. At least he's trying, compared to, as said, Lex Friedman, who is more like, guys, have you tried love?
Yeah. All we need is love. Ba, 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 ba. And why that's so insane is like, according to the Quran, I haven't counted verses and so on, but I seem to recall way more verses that talk about Allah not loving people, right? Allah doesn't love the unbelievers. He doesn't love the proud. He doesn't love the mischief makers. He doesn't love the extravagant. He doesn't love all kinds of people. He loves you.
It clearly says
maybe if you're a good Muslim who accepts Muhammad and is really, really faithful in obeying everything Muhammad says and not doubting anything Muhammad says, then Allah loves you. Guess what? That's not me. Right?
But hey, have you tried?
Allah has no love for me. Allah has no love for AP. Allah has no love for Jordan Peterson. So not helping, Lex.
But hey, have you tried love?
DR here says, Lex isn't high. He's hypersensitive and depressed. Huh. He doesn't know much on Islam, especially from non-Muslims or honest ones. JP knows, but he fears backlash. I don't know. I mean,
coward.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think Jordan Peterson means well, and that we don't have to interpret everything as like some ulterior motive or something like that. Like, oh, he's just trying to impress
I
some
think
people or something like
he's
that.
scared. He's
He,
scared.
because notice he's a psychologist, so he's looking around and he sees the kinds of manipulation and so on is going on. And he sees it. He sees it more clearly. It's just, again, it's like telling one of Tate's cam girls, "Hey, he's manipulated you." Yeah, if he's has successfully manipulated and conditioning you, just saying it is not going to change it. Just saying it.
I
It
I
would
don't know.
it would take years of therapy to get one of these girls to understand what Tate has done to them and get her to actually change her mind. We're not talking about the ones that actually turned against him. They're there for a little while and they realize what's going on. They're like, "Oh, I'm getting out of here." I'm talking about the ones who he conditioned to actually, that were successfully conditioned and manipulated. Very hard to break that. You're not going to do it with a 20-minute video. You're not going to break the conditioning of the Ummah that has been going on for 14 centuries by saying, "Oh, look what's going on. Hey, wouldn't it be better off to team up with the people of the book, eh?" Not going to work.
I don't know why you're being so judgmental. They came up with amazing ideas so far. One said, "Find a pen pal," and the other said, "Did you try love?" So
Yeah.
these are obviously perfect solutions. Not sure
Yep.
what's your
Yeah,
problem.
I don't know. Yeah, I'll just retweet that and that'll save the world. David, your first and last name together make Daoud, the Arabic name for David. That's a sign and proof. Yeah. One day I want to make argue that I'm a prophet and base it entirely on the Quran and interpreting the Quran. And I think I can make a better case that I'm a true prophet than Muhammad can from the Bible. And finally, do you have any thoughts on Imam Tawhidi? That's the Imam of Peace. I like him. But it's similar. It's kind of similar to the situation with Jordan Peterson. It's like, not going to work. Great. I think it's great that you're trying. I think you can do some good in the world as far as exposing various bad things and so on. Are you actually going to bring the Ummah around to agree with you?
Nope.
Close to 0% chance.
A for effort.
And finally, I'm proud to be a Christian. God bless you both. Thank you. All right, AP. We've gone through Jordan Peterson's entire video. It was actually better than I recall when I was kind of listening to it, but no more effective. No more effective than I thought it was. Like,
yeah, I think
he's actually making significant points about people using situations and so on to their advantage and so on. And these kind of people taking over whenever there's a conflict and using these things to their advantage, and how entire communities have been misled to actually be doing things that are going against their advantage. And they've been manipulated into thinking that this is what they have to do. And it's all meant just to enrich or empower other people. Yes, that's all going on. And I didn't see anything in that video that's going to change it.
Yeah, I think it's I don't know. I don't want to be that guy who is just very, very critical.
No, not
it's
you.
probably not very nice of me to say these things, but I just think that it was a terrible attempt and severely misguided. It won't do anything. It won't change a single thing. Not a single Muslim will change his mind after watching that video. I would say, yeah, yeah.
I'm not as negative as AP. I think
You're
that
wrong.
I've changed my mind. That video is going to change the world. We've got negative AP, doesn't think anything except his channel is ever going to get anything done. Alex here said, 1999 had Peterson as a professor. Oh, that's cool. Former student. But since 2016 gave him many good books on Islam. Spencer, Karsh, etc. And before his medical issue, he really began to get it, but he has since forgotten. Seriously sad. He means well. I mean, really, it might be along the lines of what AP was saying. He might get it and still just think. I mean, keep in mind, he's not thinking of these things as true and false. And he did say in his talk, hey, this is the situation we're in. We've got these religions and they're big. And so we got to have to do the best with what we've got. So he may be thinking, yes, all this stuff is in the Muslim sources, but there are definitely Muslims who don't take them entirely seriously as far as going around trying to implement all these things. So maybe I can work with that and steer the population as much as possible. Don't think it's going to work, but I don't know. Kind of heart's in the right place, just completely out of touch with reality as far as.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, it's I mean, from the way that Jordan Peterson talks and the way he approaches things, I don't know. I guess you could see how he means well. He feels about certain things deeply. It's probably a heartfelt approach where he thinks he could make an impact. But I just want to be blunt here and say it's just also a very poor attempt.
Well, that's false. We got Michael Stein saying AP will hug Ali Dawa because of this.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
Not just because of the Jordan Peterson video, but if you combine it with Lex Friedman's tweet, then yes, AP is going to hug Ali Dawa, and Ali Dawa is going to be all for it because his heart is going to melt when he sees Jordan Peterson's video. And yes, so this is the state we're in, ladies and gentlemen. This is the state of the world. It'll all just work out. Let's all just remember love and everything else will work out. By the way, if we're talking about what's actually going to work as far as Jordan Peterson's video, again, brilliant. He made the best case that I think he could under the circumstances, but I think even a song would be better at reaching people than all this talk. So here you go. This is what'll actually get the message across.
Ain't gonna follow no child molester, sex offender, private pretender. Ain't gonna follow no child molester.
Islam's not for me. Islam's not for me.
Islam's not for
me.
And that is how you bring about world peace, ladies and gentlemen. Catch you all next time.
Bye-bye.